One run to get every achievement on my very first playthrough of Baldur's Gate 3. That was the promise. I failed to deliver. 53 out of 54 is all I managed with one single tiny achievement sabotaging my attempt. Foehammer, the final hurdle standing between me and 100%ing Baldur's Gate 3.
So you beat the game once and think you can handle honor mode?
Oh, all that and more. Because remember how your deaths, your mishaps would haunt this run? How for every 3 of your reloads we would add an extra layer of difficulty?
Well, balls, bloody balls, and I thought I was stupid.
Stupid as that may sound, in a run where there's only one save file, one life, one chance to get it right. What am I doing? We racked up 26 reloads in Dork's achievement hunt. Divide that by 3 and you get 8.6666666. Yep, that checks out. And since we still stand Loviatar on this side of the internet, I procured a list of punishments, slapped them on the wheel of Raphaelic consequences, and spun it 9 times. Whatever it lands on, I commit to no takesies backsies. If you want proof that the wheel wasn't rigged or anything, I've dumped the full unedited spin in the description. But for now, let's find out if we'll be more lovey or hater this run. Personally, I'm betting on the latter.
That's it! Do one! Let Loviatoe hear you!
With our tadpole popped into the noggin, we dive straight into character creation, where we see a myriad of options to build Honor Mode's best warrior. Yet that is not for me to choose. Fate spins along as it should the wheel decides to have us build. And so I conjured up a new wheel, deciding the details. Okay, Dark Urge again. More and more information was unveiled. Our Dark Urge is to be a wood elf monk with stats worse than any House of Healing patient. And maybe we'll look like one too, for I was head over wheels about letting fate ruin this run and made another one to choose our looks. And you know what? That does not look half bad. And so we return to the place we left off with Dork's story, the scorched, imp-filled lands of Avernus, as we stand at the dawn of another Amnesiac's adventure. Back on the Nautiloid, our Baldur drops from her pod. A monk, a class I've not been able to familiarize myself with before, but if you know a thing or two about them, it's that their fighting relies heavily on a little resource called ki. But not this one, for the wheel had other ideas. No magic of any sort. Which sounds more drastic than I turned it into, with the following rules as decided by me, the ultimate god Loviatoe. Don't you dare question this rule set or I'll have to start threatening those wrigglers again.
How nasty of you!
No spells, no scrolls, no cantrips, or any actions that explicitly cast a spell, including spells granted by items or class features. Yes to potions, elixirs, enhanced weapons, arrows, and any passive effects that can't be turned off. I guess you'll see what I did and did not do this run, which was my best. But if you think I've chickened out with these rules, kindly fuck off! JK. If you disagree, that's fine. Feel free to write of the anger in an essay detailing the exact rules you would impose on a no magic run, and I might attempt it one day. You get to rant, I get to content. Win-win situation. But back to our monk. Ki is the magic that flows through all living beings, meaning that she cannot use ki points. Ever. So please allow me to properly introduce her. Us meet Nonki. Nonki meet us. Or not. Without our trusty brain pet, Nonki welcomes Lae'zel to the team, and together they smack down the first trio of imps, where we learn that our monk's bonus action, the unarmed strike, is not a key element. Lovely! What is less lovely is that Nonky's hit points are so insultingly low that with a single attack she's already on half her health. Yikes. Lae'zel and Nonky then go to watch a woman trapped in a pod, and it's only then that I realize my own trap. I open the inventory and discover that Lae'zel is breaking my secret rules. Oh, yep, she's wearing armor. Whoops. Forgive me for not realizing that sooner. This is what I mean. I have to get used to the rules because clearly I have no idea what I'm doing. Yet, I hope. So yes, no armor. Yes, no armor, no? Yes. That is our next punishment. Luckily, Lae'zel did not have to parade around in her underwear for long, as Nonky derobed a dead body and gracefully gave it to her. The moment we set Shadowheart free, however, she was not so lucky. And is very useful to us as a cleric who's not allowed to cast a single spell. So we stroll back to see if anyone can break our useful brain pal free, and with us on the team, we run back to the helm, where we stack the chests in front of the entrance as I refuse to die on the Nautiloid due to some cambions. I mean, come on, can you imagine how pathetic it would be to lose an on-mode run before making it off the Nautiloid? Then, for reasons far beyond my comprehension, I decide it is a brilliant idea to try killing Commander Zalk for the XP. And more importantly, for that sword. But unlike our great build and magical abilities from Dork's Run to help make that happen, once the Mind Flayer fell, so did Lae'zel. And Shadowheart, which left Nonky. No key, no HP, no XP, sprinting for her miserable little life. And if this is how the game begins, you just know Honor Mode is going to be a bitch. And so we end up on the beach. Nonky Minja. What? Our pop girly goes to grab our girly pop, and together they collect just enough XP for a level up. And with that, fate spins along as the shoot returns, asserting its dominance over Nonky's build. Monk level 2. And not much to show for it, for we quickly realize the new actions granted to us are useless. Shadowheart takes a cleric level 2 without me even thinking, meaning she also remains completely useless, and despite sneaking into our first fight with advantage, surprising all three of them, these two get clawed to ribbons by the intellect devourers. Which is ironic, considering I'm pretty sure they have none. While picking up Astarion, I have a crucial revelation. Yeah, let's do slip the hold. Bonus. Wait, no bonus. That's magic. Stop it. Stop it. And that with no rerolls. Oh, this is going to be madness. And so we roll straight into our next punishment. One roll to rule them all. Also known as inspiration is useless, guidance due to no magic is not allowed, and that combined could result in some interesting outcomes. But unpredictability is not what you want on an honor mode run, and therefore mind flayers get killed on first sight. I call that the Emperor effect.
Perfect.
Another useless magician is recruited, and after digging up some chests, it comes to my attention that Astarion also needs to strip. The party is now a monk in pajamas, a robed magician, a cleric in her Victoria's Secret set, and a vampire in his pirate era. We sure look like an intimidating group. But see, that's all part of the charm. As we go to free Lae'zel, a thought pops into my head. You know, these tieflings really hold no value this run. We also don't fight like an intimidating group because these weak-ass mother flippers consisting of one benched magician, a free defeat enthusiast, and a one-staff hit wonder take their damn time. Fights that should take seconds take minutes. And if you think that's how we lose our dignity, no. It's in the song that plays. Downed, downed, downed by the river. With healing potions already running out, it was time for a long rest. Luckily, I'm allowed that, though the team seems to think differently.
A monster forms inside us, yet you waste time with idle chatter.
The worst thing is, Nonky needs her long rests, for making more healing potions is out of the question thanks to our next punishment. No crafting. But you know what I hate even more? The yellow monk suit, it's so ugly. So I look at the dye, and then I look at the button, and then I see it says combining, not crafting, and do exactly that. So I say, be gone yellow. Time to see red. Inside of the refectory, we smash open a book, because Arcana would be magic, and I pause to debate whether second wind is magical too. The description describes it as drawing from one's stamina, so I took it as a no and allowed its usage. Just like this one. And we'll be needing him. Because death is Nonky's favourite pastime. You know, the life of a Balbe and all of that. And although Will insists on breaking the rules by casting Revivify, our no magic laws ban that forevermore. But perhaps this moment was fated, and
The mechanics of fate would be difficult to explain to one such as thyself.
actually, it's quite easy. Bring in the wheel! What will it be? A monk level 3? That requires an extra spin to determine our subclass. And with patch 8 being out, we go the way of the Drunken Master, where the only useful addition to our build comes in the form of a performance proficiency. Yay! And with everyone else leveled up, it's time to loot. Except we see the body of Ramira outlined in red. That's stealing. And let our next punishment be no stealing. Is that bad? I guess not. I don't know what we would be stealing anyway. How I wish I could go back in time and sew my mouth shut and throw myself off a cliff, because there's plenty of stuff you'd want to steal in this game, you blithering idiot! But while we can't do it right here, we can pick up the body and drop her in our camp. And still can't loot without it being classified as stealing. What a bummer. To alleviate the pain from this minor inconvenience, Nonky grabs her popcorn and loves watching One Punch Man, while our companions can receive some joy from Nonky not giving a rat's ass about the tieflings. The perfect little monk with her perfect little cult on a hunt for XP, killing everyone with an attitude even if we cannot take the loot, because that's not what we're dark urging for, as made very clear by the squirrel scene that I did not encounter last time.
Quick word.
This squirrel might be the single
Timber the
most
squirrel.
adorable creature you can recall in all
Is that who
your
Pitbull wrote that
stunted
song
memory.
about?
It
It's
would be
going
ever
down.
so twee
I'm
if
yelling
it were
timber.
climbing a tree.
You better move. Okay!
Always take on such terrifying foes.
Nonky!
You saw
Bad.
the body before you.
Really bad!
No idea what just happened.
Not a fan of small hairy lads, it seems. Though maybe just small. Because after ensuring Roland and his siblings are out of view, Nonky approaches Aaron, the trader. The trade window opens. We do a little bartering. One transaction, to be specific. And stibbity stouty stoop. Aaron nearly kills us for good. But the question is, why?
Why?
Hostile hospitality. Kill every trader after the first transaction. Yep, I can already feel the murder hobo energy streaming into our new tav. We are doing it dork style once more. But while Nonky indulges in her favorite pastime again, our companions slice him right through. And since we can't loot him, we take the only thing we can, the evidence. They're gonna know? How would they know? No body, no crime. A crime, a body. Though not when it comes to Arabella, because if there's anything Nonky believes in, it's that the snake doesn't deserve the kill, as she does. Though not before we receive our cure, therefore we turn to Nettie. But Nettie kept on yapping and yapping, as if Nonky knows the answers to any of her questions. Girl's got amnesia, she knows jack shit. But still, Nettie offers her the cure. Poison.
The poison is painless.
It'll be like going to sleep.
You bitch! Nonky is furious, and she wanted to beat the light out of Nettie's eyes right here, right now, but not before getting the antidote, which we got, and it worked, and then we stabbed her to death and left her in her tomb to rot. She was too heavy to carry. Nonky also argued that carrying a lute was way too heavy for our poor, sweet Elvira.
What did you do?
Oh, that felt good. Truly, it did, because just a bit earlier, Elvira was not too happy seeing Nonky whipping a chest into obedience.
How could you break it?
So where Dork had an intense love for chests, they became Nonky's arch nemesis. Why? Well, the wheel spun, and it decided no lockpicking. That's why we've been shoving chests of high places, banging them to burst open, and causing some slight offense every now and then. But the biggest issue with this punishment surfaced when we went to free Zaza. For after failing the roll and having to spill some tiefling blood, we come to the realization that we cannot steal the key off their bodies, which is where I assumed it would be. We cannot lockpick, and since this is a medium tough gate, we can't force its compliance to open through whipping it. So the only thing left to do was to leave Zaza behind. And it is then, after pushing Zavlor into the right headspace regarding Kaga, that we get our first True Soul experience, and tell these fools to go get revenge.
What?
Because any help with the owlbear is nice. What's also nice is when you run ahead, stop, and your companions just keep going. Way to go, guys. Way to go.
Trust no one.
But no reason to fret, we are still alive. Ish. And we have another moment of enlightenment. If the damage is reduced to 0, you use a key point to deflect the missile. Wait. It turns out Nonky can use the first bit to deflect without spending a key point, but because I did not know for sure right here, we chose not to utilize the skill yet. And the results? Lae'zel has to sprint into the fight to keep it going, but the traps are still activated. Therefore, Astarion and Shadowheart try to sneak towards them to turn it off. Get spotted, and lose HP quicker than Nonky loses her life. Well, almost. It was at this moment that I remembered I am in honor mode. This is not looking good. We're fucked. We're so fucked. I am losing to a bunch of pestilent creatures in a cave. What am I doing? Do we run? Do we even have withers yet? Lae'zel, can you run? Can you run for me? With a smooth jump and an action surge, Lae'zel makes it to camp, where thankfully, withers had joined us. And I just want to emphasize that if you believe this run is feeding from withers' titties to strike their names from the archives, which is described as powerful magic, and therefore claim I am using magic, NPC! Not personally casting, okay? No problematic comments, okay? Copium, you say? No, darling, that's canonically overruling permit in honor mode. Okay. And we're back after cleaving souls to bodies once more to remove some souls from bodies.
Perfectly balanced.
And this time it goes much better. But afterwards I can only say what we're all thinking. I'm not doing too well. Strategically. Or at all, really. So as we walk into the blighted village, big-mouthing the rest of these annoyances, it's only natural we fill the role and get into the fight from a highly disadvantaged position. Strategy? I don't know her. People down, people die, people join, people heal, people down, people die. Our people. 10 minutes of pure horror. And while Astarion and Nonky make it through, walking around with just the two of them, cute, killing the most difficult of enemies. So cute. We cannot even reel in enough coin to revive our full crew. Not so cute. So I think, why not get Gale to hop on the team? But this man is once again only thinking about himself and the magical items he wants to snack on. And while she gives him the locket that we can't put to use anyway, Nonky is already so over Gale and goes to grab Will instead.
That's the spirit.
With our new team combined, it was time for a long rest. But we crossed the bridge one too far. And Elfira shows up. Hissed.
You loot-breaking asshole!
She wants nothing to do with Nonky after Lootgate. Except when you click on her again, she's super excited and nice, which made me a little sad because I wanted her to cuss Nonky out. I mean, well, we deserve it for the actions that follow. Nonky's bouts of rage did not end with Elfira, because our pile of corpses had disappeared and turned into pouches. Way to ruin an artwork, game. And they're still red. Ugh. Well, if we can't steal, we can resort to murder. Although Will received a little blessing from his patron. The wiki calls it a gift, a condition, and says devils deal in power. Is that magical? Probably. Did I do anything with that information? Absolutely not. Ignorance is bliss. Is it clear yet that I have no idea what I'm doing? Yeah, outrageous, innit? Yep. Though my intention shifted from aggressing to regressing to Saza in that cage. For I had the brightest idea to date. What if, I thought while sitting at dinner slurping down some spaghetti carbonara, what if I get enough crates to build a tower so high that we can use the falling damage to bust the cage open? We grab what we can, beat another chest to shambles, do the slow walk of encumberment, and build our tower. The first throw was as weak as most of our strategies. We were not high enough yet. We do it again. The chest breaks, but the gate remains closed. Time to turn up the heat. It worked! It worked! Wow! We left our monument to madness behind and escorted Saza to freedom, through the cave and back outside. Things are going so well all of a sudden, not even Raphael can throw Nonky over. Uninterested, hungry for murder with an exceptionally lucky streak of skill and dead combined. Vibes. And so we return to the blighted village, running straight to him.
How about this? You pay a toll and go on as you like, or else you fly.
That amount we do not have, but we do have access to the better stuff. Authority. Curse you, damn dice! Curse you, damn punishments! But we get a second chance and choose Detect Dots, not realizing that this actually casts the spell, meaning it's not allowed, obviously. But the roll failed anyway, so this is not the moment I learned that. We're just fighting now. Welcome to One Roll to Rule Them All on Remote Edition! With the worst possible lineup, positioning and hit points, Astarion finishes his turn, shooting air. Fezerk finishes his turn with 3 of us down on the floor. We're screwed! There was a flicker of hope when they missed Astarion twice, but he got hit twice after that. And so... Fuck. This is just a chance to do it better, right? Like, of course we were not gonna make it on the first try, though I did expect to get a bit further. Just a bit. Well, R.I.P. Nonky won. We restart the run, but not without serving the due penance. I mean, I cannot let another's death haunt this run without Nonky's own coming back to play. Bring forth the wheel of death before dishonor. Will it get better, or will it get worse? Let's see. This time, we get off with a warning. Fresh start. Same rules, same Nonky, mostly the same choices, but this time the rolls can be in our favor. And we know things now. Like to strip Lae'zel of her armor straight away and wear your clothes, damn it. This is a YouTube channel, not another type of video website. Though you do need to prove you're 18 plus for only one of them. We speedrun the Nautiloid without any problems and land back at the crash site. The crash site. Oh my god, crash site. We're playing it nearly identical. Even our first level of wheel spin landed on monk level 2 again. I did, however, give Shadowheart a level in rogue to get her off the magic and onto some useful stuff. And we are thriving. We get our crew, kill who we need to, or want to kill, talk away inside the chapel, and only nearly die by the burning hands of the squatters inside. Wait. Nope. Nonky fully dies. Which means we are in a bit of a pickle. For no magic can revive Nonky but the hands of withers who we do not have access to yet, meaning she's in cryopreservation until further notice. And we continue with our 3 favourite crewmates who fight off the undead, free the bone men, and are doing so well together without their leader.
If I choose to kill you, you will not even see it.
As Lae'zel daydreams about her hobbies, she takes it upon herself to return Nonky from hers, only for Nonky to want to return to it not too long after. If death isn't her most treasured form of amusement, being downed is a very close second. But back to her first. After helping Nadira with the bugbear, and Nadira with herself, we hit another level up. And this is where we deviate from the timeline, because we get to add a new class with a level in Barbarian. See? That's fitting! Even works with our Rage Against chests. But maybe the Barbarian in her works a bit too hard, for she now also beats up books. And still doesn't look intimidating enough to talk her way out of things, nor is rich enough to buy her way out.
You don't have the gold to buy your way out of this situation.
So she's now a registered felon. Book killer. Book killer. Book killer. At least I know how to escape out of this prison. But I forgot about that. Damn it. What I didn't forget is that Arca turns hostile upon seeing a prison breaker. Not that hiding in plain sight works to avoid that, so we had to throw some punches. Luckily, Nonky held on to just enough HP to bring the crew into it. Though, not for long, of course. And with Arca and Memnos dead, we still cannot loot their bodies, so we clear out the goblins in the cave, grab all the crates, and build our Tower of Damage once more to escort Saza outside.
See you at the camp.
Where we run into Aradin, giving us the Night Song contract and a nice flow of thoughts. See, so when Aradin is still here and you look over to his mates, their bodies, like the outlines, like they're red. But then when he leaves, if he can find the way, do you know the way? Probably not, we have his map now. But see, they become yellow, meaning that we can loot without it being classified as stealing. Why does that not work for the bodies that we drag to camp? Or would they turn yellow if everyone around them left or died? I don't think that works. But Faerun has weird laws. Who knows? I still, to this day, do not understand the exact mechanic behind this, but then again, I don't understand many things in this game. Or life. It is therefore that I was wandering around aimlessly, terrified of the consequences of not understanding things. After all, this is where we died last time. But some people are not afraid to shoot their shot.
Shadowheart. Such a grim name for such a beautiful flower.
I heard you mumbling that line to yourself earlier. It needs more work.
Fortunate for his tongue, he didn't say it to me.
Oh, God, Lae'zel. I love these 3 so much. They have great banter. And we learn to shoot our shots as well, picking our battles wisely. Not that that means anything, but we survive. Guess who doesn't?
I won't let you down. I promise.
Ugh, she's so nice now that we haven't had the chance to smash her loot
The first
yet.
time I saw you, I figured you were a champion. A woman of valor, integrity. But you seem intent on proving me wrong.
Okay, time to book a Specsavers appointment.
Your guilt is safe. For now.
After covering ourselves in the guts of the inhabitants of the blighted village, except for those we are tactfully avoiding, and making the most of our new barbarian class.
I am strong. I am virile. I am
Having the time of my life. Oh, she sure is.
a moment ruined
we tread towards Joaquin's Rest, where kicking indoors, even as a monk, is not Nonky's strong suit.
Bombastic side-eye.
But whacking a door, pretending it's a chest, oh yes, 100%. So why stop at one door?
Fresh air. At last.
While Floric rants about our heroics, the pursuit of Duke Ravengard, and our reward, Nonky is doing what she loves most. How do I know that, you ask? I don't. So we can't do spells, so do we take the bow or do we take the trident? I think bow. Let's do bow. What? Huh? Girl! Not again. Come on. Nonky got fried crispier than my socks after marinating in foot juice and leaving them out to air dry. Well, caught in a freeze frame pose oddly reminiscent of those old Smosh friendship always wins jumps. Do you guys remember those? And to think I only came here because the chance of dying was slim. But as once again proved, never zero. So how about doing some hostile hospitality again? The chance of dying in a 4v1 is slim, but never zero. Okay, we didn't die, but jeez, Nonkeys, every one of those 17 hit points are wasted to the fullest. In the Grove, things played out exactly like before. Arabella gets saved, Coco's chest gets demolished, and Nettie gets what she deserves. And I was still too much of a scaredy cat to pursue a real fight, so we returned to Joaquin's Rest to get into the Zentrim's basement. Now, I'd learned a thing or two from Dog's Run, so I sent in Nonky and Nonky only.
Never mind.
Burn, bastard!
Oh, not again. She's once again charred beyond recognition. But Saris spots her with ease. We return the favor and read her mind with ease. And here, we finally come to the realization that the Detect Thoughts casts the spell. I feel sort of torn between two options, like, yeah, I can immediately long rest again to remove the condition. Or, until our next long rest, we add an extra punishment. Where the confidence came from to just spin that wheel again, I do not know. I can't even get through Act 1 with our current list, but spin we do. And we land on no opportunity attacks, so we turn it off for everyone and continue. This newfound confidence pushed us to do things we did not dare before, like staring in the eyes of our past killer. We do make the roll this time, but who is Nonky, if not the one who punishes those who wronged her? And we do it well, without laying on the floor, without having the souls leave our bodies, and we can even get our old pal Barkus off the wings. During the long rest that followed, we lay our eyes on another old friend.
Sceleritas fell.
And with that respect comes a mantle that I will be equipping, because it's merely Dark Urge lore, you know. The mantle doesn't make Nonky invisible. Everyone else is just being polite by pretending she's not there. And look how good she looks. Stunning. A soleil. Okay, please forgive me. I didn't even think about it.
Well, don't think too hard. I wouldn't want you to hurt yourself.
And then when I finally did think about it, I was already editing. So, whoops. With the passing of the night, come morning, opportunity attacks were allowed again. And with our XP ticking up, another level up was also around the corner. Barbarian level 2, Monk level 3, or do we add another one on top? Yes! Oh, that makes me really happy. As for the rest, Lae'zel and Astarion get the alert feat, because I sure as hell ain't losing the run because the whole crew gets wiped out without a turn. Shadowheart remains our cleric with a rogue specialization, because for some reason I've chosen not to use Withers for respeccing her the entire Foehammer journey, probably because I need the money to keep Nonky alive. But currently, what I need is for her to be present. but not even Lae'zel could get her to come.
That's what she said.
It was only after returning to frog mode that she did it.
What?
We head over to the Three Ogres, not to fight, absolutely not. We're just here for a civilized chat, which goes about as well as you'd expect. One rule to rule them all really carrying its weight here, but money. Money speaks every language, even Ogre. So we bribe the trio, acquire their bell of help, and trot off towards the goblin camp where Sazza lets us in. As we head deeper into the camp, we spy a creature on the run. That doesn't look like the owlbear cub.
That was chicken, you twat.
We did not visit the owlbear cave yet, which means we're doing Crawler's chicken race with a literal chicken. And since we can't use speak with animals to persuade it through the posts, Nonky has to use more force than Crawler uses to get it inside of the ring. Okay, the RSPCA would like a word, Crawler. I mean, they're already here for the ongoing investigation on Nonky for that squirrel. It's fun to stay at the RSPCA. Somehow, Nonky manages to do it. Nonky barely has useful skills, but she can herd a chicken? Chicken, how do you feel about that? What a marvelous thing to say. Good talk, good talk. We collect our winnings from Crawler by gently applying authority, and then we head over to Crusher. Now, Nonky views goblins as dirt beneath her feet, but I think she views anything as less than feet. Because nibbling toes, oh, she loves that. That as a dark urge, she gnaws it clean off, as one does, and it would cause them to aggro I was not aware of. Fortunately, they fight until they get whipped enough to start yielding, and Nonky forces Crusher to kiss her feet, leaving him alive, not because she's kind, but because living with that memory is far worse than death.
My, this place is fun.
Can she remain in such a kind-hearted flow? Or do things change once we reach the heart of the goblin camp? Maybe it's her name that triggers Nonky. Maybe it's the torture chamber. Maybe it's the goblins calling her a softie for stretching Liam for a slow burn. Oh yeah, it's the goblins. Spike and Grush are now impaled and crushed. Liam then looks at us hopeful, begging to be freed, and we do free him. The taste of death proving sweeter with each kill, and old habits die hard. Which is why Gribbo becomes the next donation to our growing body count. Though I did not think that one through because the cage is locked, and we cannot lockpick it, nor does it have hit points. And Gribbo is a nice shade of red, so we can't steal the key off of her remains, meaning Volo is left to fend for himself.
You broke him!
To repent for our sins, we decide to visit Abderak. Loviato's blessing might just be the thing Nonky needs to soothe the hunger clawing at her insides. Except we don't make the rolls. So instead of spiritual enlightenment, we just lose hit points while Abderak bitches about her lack of moaning.
Such mockery only harms you, child.
And this only irritates Nonky further. And what do we learn from this moment? Die! He barely even yelps himself. Blasphemy! That's a fake Loviatar stan if I ever saw one.
A fake and a fraud.
With the clerics of Kings dispatched, we head to the walk pens to murder for a righteous cause, freeing Halsin. And if you think Halsin would not approve of Miss Nonky's behavior, Your Honor, I move that Exhibit C be introduced into evidence. Yes, Halsin, kill the children first! Good boy. As you can see, Halsin happily makes use of Nonky's skill set to get rid of the leaders, and we politely leave him behind, not because we're scared he'll aggro the camp, but because Nonky enjoys doing that herself. But before we throw hands again, Nonky genuinely tries to listen as she goes to see Priestess Gut in her private chambers. And what does Priestess Gut reward her with? A potion of sleep. Nonky, being not a complete idiot for once, politely declines. And when Gut tries to magically force her to sleep, yeah, good luck with an elf as herself. Elf as yourself? Elf yourself? Wait, isn't that... gut cannot handle all that.
I'll tear you to shreds.
But not today. Before she can even call for help, Astarion, Lae'zel, and Shadowheart skid out of the shadows as we cut her down. But then, everything turns red. Her body turns red. The items around her are red. Looting Gut is stealing, and the door to her quarters has no hit points. Thankfully, the exit door can be slayed, so we slash our way out and pretend that was the plan all along as we strike up a conversation with Roa. And because she shows up in Moonrise later, I decided not to risk the hostile hospitality rule. Instead, we channel our violent energy into murdering most of the camp. But before seeking out the other leaders, I decided on a quick detour to the blighted village cellar. After all, I knew what to expect from this area, so it seemed like a safe spot to grab some XP. The plan is simple. Everyone hides, Lae'zel creeps forward to crack open the first coffin, one skeleton rises and we let him open another coffin. We deal with Skelly number 1 while Skelly number 2 can open the next coffin, and so forth. But no. This undead gremlin had other ideas, and in a display of enthusiasm that would put Nonky's chest whacking to shame, he smashed open not 1, not 2, but 3 coffins in one turn. Our perfect ambush ruined. The situation went from precarious to catastrophic as our crew take on a form similar to that of the deceased Skellies. Miss, 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 and the panic sets in. We are going to die. We're going to die. We're going to die. We're good. It's fine. It's fine. We're fine. Everything's fine. It wasn't fine. When an intense battle rests on the shoulders of your weakest soldier, prepare for a restart. But not when that soldier is the Dark Urge. The cloak. The absolutely not magical yet suspiciously magical cloak. It saved us. And her name is Nonkina. Battered but alive, we limp towards the mirror and get access to the necromancy of Tay, only to find it barred by a gate which was immune to our signature slapstick approach. But no worries, we return to our most trusted, most tedious strategy, crates. 10 solid minutes of stacking boxes. What took you so long? Well, Nonky. All that work, all that effort. And for what? Our throws barely chipped the paint because it wasn't high enough. And I admitted defeat. Only to find the bloody key near the exit. And we shan't even mention the fact that this book is not even allowed to be read because it's quite a magical thing. But enough with the tragedies. Time to progress the plot. We head towards the Druid Sanctuary and run into Auntie Ethel. Nonky takes one look at this elderly woman and her immediate diagnosis.
Our sister went to the hag, and we
Hack
haven't seen her
alert.
since.
Hack alert. But she remains polite, asks one perfectly normal question, and Ethel takes it as a personal insult.
Fat lot of good you are.
The two brothers, Demir and Joel, looked at Nonky with suspicion. Moments later, they were dead. Absolute dreadful behavior from the hag. How could she? Then, in peak Nonky fashion, she cannot deduce what is actually going on and proceeds to stick her hand straight into places she clearly shouldn't.
My finger.
After which, she blunders into enough traps to give herself a selection of festering wounds, each taking 25 turns and resetting on a failed roll. And finally, her outward appearance matches her innards. While she's busy decomposing, I send the others on a simple errand. Grab the note and leave. We don't have time for nor interest in a mud bath. Astarion was spotted instantly. The wood roads went absolutely berserk, and Lae'zel was clinging to life with a measly 3 HP by the end of the first round. The vines are burning. The enemies are burning. Our party is burning. Everyone is having a miserable time. Except for Nonky, who cleansed of rot and green once more, stepped into battle like never before. Give that woman a round of applause.
Need to find a way forward.
If you think dealing with Kaga and the Shadow Druids goes any smoother, Nonki does not even think about persuading Kaga. She does have a face fit for a cadaver, don't you think?
Oh, then come get it!
What followed was a masterclass in how not to win a fight but die while your allies fall like Nonki from crates. And at this point, we were down to a triangle formation to sort of heal and slay at the same time. And shockingly, it works quite well. Until Kaga unleashed a thunder wave that downed Shadowheart and Astarion in one blow. Things truly can never go well in this game for long. And so we get into a nice flow of whittle down enemy HP, watch it flow back to full health as they shapeshift. Get knocked down, heal, get knocked down, kill, slay the beast, and return them to human form. Watch Wrath be spectacularly useless over and over again. So we gave him a reward for his aid. And finally finish Olodon off too. Turning the corner, a lone hostile bloke who slept through the main event decides now is his time to shine. We put him down, and his corpse turned yellow. Does that mean we can now... Oh, come on. There is not a single soul alive down here. Who exactly am I stealing from? Maybe it only worked once we wipe out all the druids. Let's ruminate on that a bit longer before doing anything stupid. Again. Guys, I did something stupid. No, I did not attack the druids, please. Give me some credit. What I did do, well, after Astarion decided to nibble on Nonki's neck, we ran into Gandrel, the Gur who is after said vampire. I was after something else. You see, a few minutes before, Astarion casually murdered a sheep, which transformed into a redcap, which then transformed the entire atmosphere. And I sat there baffled, not knowing that that was their disguise. Though, I guess knowing at all, it makes sense. Regardless, after the fight, we are so close to a level up. And man, do I want to level up. But the conversation itself gives no XP. And when Nonki confides in Astarion, he offers a suggestion.
We just have to be vigilant, keep our wits about us, and kill any monster hunters on sight.
You know what, Astarion? You don't have to tell me twice. I mean, I really want the XP.
Go.
It's a 4v1. I don't see how this can go wrong.
You sought a fight, and now you have one.
I announced this with such misplaced confidence that I don't even bother healing Shadowheart before executing the first move. Lae'zel sweeps his legs out from under him. Nonki slips from the shadows and smacks him in the chest, as she so often does. We're halfway there. And the fight has only just begun. But Gandrel knows how to handle monsters, and there he goes, sprinting away, triggering 0 opportunity attacks. What's the worst you can do, I say? Oh my god! Fuck. All we can do is pray that Lae'zel can finish the job. She swings her sword and misses. Whereas Gandrel whips out his deadly combo, no opportunity attacks, and arrows again. Ugh. Nonki flings a healing potion at the Shadstarian pal on the ground, a small one, because that's all we have, and then sprints to the furthest corner only to find it's a dead end. Great! Therefore, Shadowheart leaps desperately in the other direction, and Astarion sticks out a little bit of health from Gandrel. But the Gur pulls another 0 opportunity attack move, and it hits me. Well, he hits them, but no, it wasn't a bug. It wasn't bad luck. It was that damned Scar of the Dunes. But we are not lost yet. Nonki can't reach our companions with a potion, but she can reach him.
Here goes nothing.
No, he still has 3 hit points. What do we do? I don't know. IDK. A potion of speed is all we need. One final desperate sprint while Nonki gets a firm grasp on her staff, takes a deep breath, She turns around and runs for her life with Gandrel right behind her. The missile snaring gloves, absolutely worthless. One more arrow and honor mode done. We nearly had him. Why did I think that was a good idea? Oh, what idiot tries new things in honor mode anyway? Right? Stupid. That was stupid. But at least we got a little bit further this time. And so we return to the Wheel of Death before this honor. What will we get? It lands on Switcheroo. Spin the wheel for a new punishment to be switched out with one of the old punishments. Interesting. I bring back the Wheel of Raphaelic Consequences to learn our newest addition to the list is Karmic Dice Off. Meaning the dice no longer balance out for long fail or win streaks. Not that we had many of the latter. And what was traded away? No stealing. Which, for reasons I don't think I need to explain, delighted me. So, off with the karmic dice. On comes our new, but definitely not improved, Nonky. 3rd time's the charm. Nonky jumps out of her pod, grabs us, grabs Lysel, strips her of her armor. You know the drill, I know the drill.
Time for some bloody work.
You know, I'm just curious. Like, can we? Oh. Oops. This is hostile. This is hostile. Oh.
Oh, fuck. I can't believe you've done this.
Cue my shame as we return to the wheel, which humbly requests us to do it again. But this time, without behaving like a what-if-ophile.
12 seconds later.
You know, but what if we sent Nonky and us all the way back down? You know, like, hear me out. And we then kill the other intellect devourer. So they're not in, like, the same vicinity close to each other. Would that work? The party splits in two, and Lysel ambushes the brain creature. Ooh, it's surprise. Nice. Now let's quickly... Oh, we have lost Nonky. Lysel and Shadowheart make an end to their fight and sprint over to Nonky's corpse to deal with us. But us is like a pit bull. Bold. Mr. Worldwide! No, terrifying. And just like that, Shadowheart was no longer with us.
What a joker.
But Lysel gains the upper hand.
Target neutralized.
And now must charge into the main battle all alone. Run, girlie, run! But she's not running. She is limping with a transponder on 2 HP.
You think you can move faster than the lifeless corpse of my dead grandmother?
Leaving a trail of shattered pride behind. Four times the charm. Okay, at the very least, Nonky and Shadowheart get a new lease on life, and I swear an oath. Okay, this time, let's play with care. You know, no brain farts, no what-ifs, just a deliberate, no nonsense, no, what's that word I'm looking for? A responsible playthrough. That's it.
I don't believe you.
Follow the familiar route, same companions, same fights, same liquidation resume. And all goes well until we reach the entrance of the crypt. We can't roll again. We can't lockpick. And this door, like all important doors in this game, has no HP to smack off its hinges. So we are staring at the big, beautiful hole in the floor we so neatly made with the boulder. There's definitely something down there. Let the bodies hit the floor. Let the bodies hit the floor. Let the bodies hit the floor. A fight. Bodies do hit the floor. Merkel clinks his sight in anticipation, and we are scraping by on very little. But we get there. By a very small margin. Welcome back to the family, Bone Man.
What a curious way to awaken.
Eventually, we reach the point where the Wheel of Fate comes out and Nonky's build is unveiled, layer by layer. First, a second level in Monk, then a new class. We diversify our portfolio with a level in Not barbarian, but fighter this time. And she meets another fighter who does to Aradin what we've all wanted to do.
With a thunk, the armored man collapses.
Guess that's a local's way of breaking the ice.
Everything else plays out like our previous time, from the bugbear and Adira to Timber the squirrel to Aaron going down after our first trade. But this time we can actually pilfer his corpse. We get 4 chests. Don't trigger me. Don't trigger Nonky. Sweet relief. Though I must say, the only downside of losing the no-stealing punishment is that it takes significantly longer to get through an area, because it has reawakened my I can't miss the loot, better check every useless face version of myself, and she is thorough. Other than that, we are fast, focused. Perception check fails, we can smell them goblin feet from a mile away. Does this also mean we're breezing through fights now? Well, you know, just don't look at the portraits. Don't do it. Don't do it, okay?
This is the last thing I need.
We also return to a beloved classic, the bug where a character just refuses to move until they return to Frog, giving Nonky space to toss herself onto the grill. Again, Shadowheart yanks her off, fed up, absolutely done with Nonky's Dyromaniac era, and allegedly, Shadowheart talks just enough sense into her that when we reach the explosive shed, we skip the persuasion roll entirely and just choose the mature, responsible route of immediate murder. Zaris must have read our minds this time because she makes sure we still get the predestined experience. R.I.P. Oscar. The Zens regroup at the back of the cave and we sneak towards them for a no talk, just shoot type of session. But it's never that easy, is it? They catch a glimpse of Shadowheart thanks to the lovely trauma package she comes with.
I hate wolves.
To her credit though, she gets over it and stabs one straight in the face. But it's always too little, too late. Fire is catching, and even our healing huddle strat is not doing us any favors this time. Shadowheart goes down, everyone's HP is deep in the red, and this battle requires a new plan of action. Enter, oops, I put down a smoke powder barrel in the middle of fire. That was not the brightest idea, but it kinda worked, somewhat. I'd say a certain phrase, but then I get cancelled, so let's stop talking now. The Zens shove Lae'zel directly into the air fryer, and with a noise best described as the sound of a good shit, she's gone. Without our lucky green lady, the critical misses pour in like clockwork. But even when all hope fades, there is one thing you can count on: support. And so, after we scrape the loot from their remains, we head back to the blighted village to grab our ogre bell, erase these annoying goblins from existence, and hit another level up. Spinning Fighter level 2. Oh, nice, we get an action surge. To close out this area, we return to the cellar, and I'm just not feeling the coffin skelly fight this time, so I go straight to the mirror, and in true speedrunner fashion, I mash spacebar, spacebar, spacebar. Oh. Okay.
Whatever comes.
What happened?
I'm ready.
Ooh, what is that? No, oh, stop! What is that? Run, no, other way. No! For one time, I choose not to fight. Oh, it's over. It's over. I did not even know this could happen. We are so done for. Oh my gosh. While Nonky can't wait to reincarnate as burnt toast, everyone else creates the healing circle around her, for we all need it. We have exactly 1 potion of speed, a handful of tiny healing potions, and the fear of Baal in our eyes. To say I was panicking is an understatement. But it's only 3 enemies. We can get the upper hand now. If it didn't take 3 of us to kill one skeleton, and if the, abomination wasn't repopulating the room with the same fervor of a certain tech billionaire. But no worries. We terminate these basement dwellers while the orb cremates their remains, and the balance restores. We grab the book, and we are overdue for a rest. Now I could bore you with the details of yet another Saza Crate Tower rescue, or Kaga and the entire Inner Grove getting what they deserve, or the total genocide of hyenas, gnolls, and these 2 pisspots. But that's not why you're here, is it? You've been waiting for her.
The most deadly foe we've yet encountered.
At least that's why we're here. Mr. Different offers us a shiny sword in exchange for our red-hot base head, and Will must have been ecstatic as we strolled down to her last known location. Nonky looked at Karlach like she was remembering a lover from a past life, her hand trembling with the vision of the slit she could make right now.
Sweet dreams are made of this.
But Karlach is giving such golden retriever energy.
I'm Karlach. And you are?
How could one ever... Here to take your head?
Nani?
Turns out Nonky's not much of a dog person, but Karlach does not go down without a fight. She pleads for her life, whipping out a full PowerPoint presentation on why she's innocent. Unfortunately for her, Nonky hates PowerPoint, because it's red, and red is triggering.
Too bad.
A fight begins, a fight ends. We knock her out for good. And Nonky completes this truncated journey with the lover of a prior incarnation. We trade Karlach's head for the sword, and as a bonus, their trader, Sorel, fell to the laws of hostile hospitality, leading to a full wipe of these yappy dogs, which means we get our souvenir to bring along on our journey. Did I mention Nonky hates dogs?
You don't say!
Well, surely not Scratch, right, Nonky? Yeah, she's not feeling this attitude. And so, Nonky signals Astarion. Ah, quiet. Too quiet. Oh, you guys are going to fry me for this. And that would be very on brand for this playthrough. Returning to camp for a snooze, we see how Will, conspiring with Nonky for his personal homework assignment, summons Mizora. Not to give him the horns. No, he gets something way better. She gives Will the infernal drip. So we receive very rare clothing. That's not armor. Even though we cannot use the spell, but fire resistance and an armor class, but that's dope. We should kill Karlach more often. After Mizora leaves, Nonky chats with Astarion.
Truth be told, you were my first.
Why is she looking so surprised? She's like, oh, really? Me? Then again, it's not that surprising she'd be attracted to a leech. But not to worry, guys. She hasn't met her dream guardian yet. She doesn't know what it is she really wants. Romantically speaking, that is. Because she knows exactly what she loves to see as she puts her memorabilia together. Nearly complete. What? Our journey pressed onward, for grief is brief when you don't know you should be grieving. You know, I was a little bit sad. But not for long. There were goblins to rile up and annihilate, all together in that wretched camp. The only difference is that we could free Volo now that stealing is legal, and enter Priestess Gut's chamber. We deal with Palma, the stone discs that lie beyond, and just like that, the way to the Underdark is open. But we're not ready to descend yet. We are ready for another level up. Fighter level 3, baby! And what better way to test our new skills than taking on the half-bare, feathered Spotify playlists of death? Or, alternatively, beating up a bear-turned-man-turned-corpse for fun? Or both? Worth it. We headed to the cliffside where the harpies dwell, and I was a little bit worried. Dog's Run did not go too well here, so we devised a plan of strategic distance. Cowardice. Nonky stands way back out of enchantment range, Shadowheart and Astarion hide a bit closer and Lae'zel babysits Murkon. But as soon as Murkon starts drifting towards the water, Lae'zel gets seized by that same melody. Shadowheart hysterically runs in and lands a hit, with Astarion following closely behind, succumbing to the song even as he killed a siren. But Lae'zel snaps out of it and smacks the lead vocalist so hard she skips straight to her encore performance in the afterlife. We want more! We want more! And more we get! Freed from the song, we surge forward. Even Nonky dare step in now that the fight turned in their favor. And before we know it, no deaths, no downed, no kid kebab. You know, I can't believe I was so scared of this one. Though, the precautions helped, probably. But if I lose now, I lose it all. I really don't want to redo this. Oh, can you imagine? No, I cannot.
We've known enough grief this 10-day traveller. Don't be the cause of more.
What a waste of time that would be.
Are you stupid?
Given the chance to throw money down a mysterious well and follow ominous whispers straight into the dark, even though I swore not to try new things. See, that's not a waste of time, nor a waste of money. Oh, look, we get our coin back. Cool. It's only then I realize where we've arrived. Is this the spider cave? Oh, yup, it is. See, I remember. But courage, or foolishness, flows freely once more. Let's shoot him in his spider bum. Nice. Spidey bum, spidey bum. Arrows fly, spiders and atticaps fall. We stand victorious.
Too much to bear.
Well, it's never too late to die. r/I'm 14 and this is deep. And we go even deeper. It's time to exterminate the matriarch. We know all about the tactics to get her. But then again, sneaking around to destroy all of the eggs is so boring. Even though I know I shouldn't risk this fight. You know I shouldn't risk this fight. Every Baldur's Gate 3 player with a pulse knows not to risk this fight. We shoot the matriarch in the face and start the chaos, eggs included. Let's see what her legendary honor move is. Once per round, if her offspring is attacked, this creature will try to encase the attacked in a gossamer tomb. The fuck does that mean? 80 poison damage? Oh hell no. We should have taken the kids out first. The only resolve right now is to not strike the offspring so long as the mom lives. We're not fooled. And she walks away unscathed. See, you can do stupid things and get rewarded. As now we're free to hack the babies until the next round without getting entombed. So that's how it works. Wrapped and loaded.
I need aid.
Oops. 2 rounds on the clock before Tomb strikes. And man, strike it does. Mumsy gets angrier every minute. Astarion takes all the blows, but we carry on. Lae'zel cleaves her in half, leaving her in her death curl as we leave one cave to enter another.
This is it. I guess we go inside?
Oh yes, inside we go, into the den of our most beloved creature, the owlbear cub. We creep inside, hoping to sneak to a better vantage point, but like so often in this run, someone is detected before we get to our preferred destination. Lae'zel fails the roll, and Mama Bear is not having it. Let the battle for custody begin. Astarion, Shadowheart and Nonky can still sneak around to gain the high ground, especially because we always carry with us our handy dandy stack of crates, crating our way out of any problem. Shadowheart takes the shot from above. The mother shrieks, and with a loud thud.
He's right behind me, isn't he?
Of course, they are not the only ones with backup, though ours are far less productive. I know these two are not the brightest, but seriously? Her mate, Mr. Oilbear, lasts about as long as a prime minister in a battle with lettuce. Not long. What outlasts that by miles is our fight, especially when our party can barely manage 10 HP of damage on a good turn. Finally, the mother falls. That remains, and I have one singular desire. Now she's going to knock him prone. Watch. Prone. 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 Expect a Patronum! Okay, finally. No magic, huh? Shh.
Survival is all that matters.
The father collapses. We strike. We endure. We survive the last of his rage. But as we stand there, panting, wounded, victorious, the fight is not over. There is no talking him down. No option to let him go. Only one awful choice. No, shh. It's okay. Is it? Even a choice?
This is your end.
Oh, please don't make those sounds. In this cursed run. We actually did it. Rip. The cub lies still. The cave falls silent. I thought Nunki hated dogs, you might wonder. The owlbear cub is not a dog, nor a golden retriever trapped in the body of a tiefling. But what if it was never her choice to make? Killing Karlach, Scratch, and the owlbear cub. Ugh, this run has abandoned any notion of honor, and we haven't even started yet. And thus, the 9th punishment is not merely revealed, it is executed. Literally, and figuratively, and emotionally, and spiritually. Is that sinning? No, that's winning. A mistake? No. Free grilled steak. Scandal? No. Let's go to Gandrel. And we've reached the stage of the voiceover where I'm going insane again. I swear, I'm not this weird. IRL. This is IRL. Whoa.
Wow.
Meta. Anyway, you can rest assured Nunki does not even dare try. We headed, as all great heroes do after committing an atrocity and ignoring last prince, oopsies, straight to Auntie Ethel's house. Sometime earlier, Nunki had witnessed Marina's tragic situation and responded with the compassion of a wet noodle. None. But she also had zero interest in losing an eye, so we left peacefully. Wildly out of character, I know. But that was then, and this is now.
The fireplace isn't real. What's hidden behind it?
Does she even care if we just run in? You won't. Right? Down we go into the tunnels, and there she was. The hag in all her glory.
Get out!
Or what?
Oh, the cocky ones are my favorite to chew on.
It's not the path that kills you when you know the route. It's the unremote surprise mechanic waiting at the end. Auntie Ethel can use her weird magic surge immediately after a spell is cast. We are not casting spells though. Dip your grimy fingers in that, you shriveled old hag. Nunki immediately identifies the real Ethel among her illusions. And topple her. Yes! With Ethel on the floor, everyone else can sneak in for the trashing. But once Shadowheart mistakes Marina for Ethel, the smooth operations halt and the cycle of misses begin. Going once, twice, thrice, thrice. Fires, sights, survives, eyes, nice. Oh, finally a hit. Can we get a hit streak now? Of course not. Ethel tries to flee, triggering the good old working opportunity attacks, and for a moment, redemption. But our accuracy was a fleeting season over almost as soon as it began. Back to miss, miss, miss. The special arrows do help us pop the illusions even on a miss, and all go down until only the real hag remains.
Wait! Wait just a tick!
Ethel makes a plea for her life, and Nonky is willing to listen.
You want to be stronger, tougher, smarter? Done! Anything is possible.
All that for the small price of Mayrina and her babe. Deal! Ethel slithers off with Mayrina while we grabbed the +1 dexterity flake and tucked it into our inventory. What goes out of our inventory is our hoarded capital, to be traded with Grat in the Goblin Camp, where hostile hospitality is the standard for customer service. The entire camp springs into action, but we know this, and we're not worried, because we have the glorious, dependable Horn to call in our backup. Okay, well, maybe once we end our turn? Where are you? No, I'm really pissed. No lump, no chalk, no fang, they ghosted us. And that's the kind of betrayal that gets you killed. But Donkey's into that, so I guess it's fine. Was the rest fine? Well, Astarion, Shadowheart and Lae'zel had spread around the map to not die by congregation, but this did not mean that it changed into an easy fight.
I can't stop winning! I can't stop winning! I can't stop winning! Aw, dang it! Aw, dang it! Aw, dang it! Aw, dang it!
Astarion and Lae'zel cut down the last of the goblins and watch over the bodies of their fallen allies. We hoist the goblin guts off our boots, and it's time to rest, to recover, to reflect, to talk. Girl, we're doing a no magic run. Stop talking to your ex-girlfriend. But he launches into his monologue about how magic is love, magic is life, blah, blah, blah. Without reading the room, he asks,
would you like to experience this?
And there is only one correct answer. No.
Disinterest is such a disheartening condition.
Oh, disinterest is an understatement, girl.
Good night.
Nonky quickly moves on to Astarion, who promises her
a night you'll never forget,
without needing magic to make it happen. But before that night arrives, duty calls. We head deeper into the Goblin Camp to finish what we started. Saza goes ahead, eager to introduce us to Minthara. But we know her game. And Minthara knows it too.
Oh, Saza, you have made a grave error.
And Nonky, well, she says nothing. Not a dicky bird. Oh, I've been looking forward to this one.
You could have told me who you was.
Saza is dragged off screaming.
Somebody else!
While Minthara now knows all about the location of the grove. What will be its fate? When Minthara speaks the 9 sacred non-magical magic words,
you have a part to play in this slaughter.
Nonky starts vibrating with excitement, just like Saza, who's vibrating with fear. I thought she might be bugged, but then again, maybe the goblins responsible for the next steps are trying to finish the job from the afterlife. Nonky briefly considers solving the problem manually, but sees this crying eye is watching and, well, because I cannot use shatter on these things. So, like, I don't want to enrage them. No. Leaving Saza to her paranormal experience, we see Minthara march off with her massive, colossal, monumental horde. And with her out of the building, only one leader remains.
You ever talk to a dead squid?
Nope.
Now's your chance.
We did F1. Just saying. I'm just saying. It was quite the achievement. Not a dead one, I'll add. Though maybe Scleritas is the only one to know for sure. Dror whips out the other necro, Mancy. But Nunky tadpoles him into asking the irrelevant questions. And no, tadpole powers are not magic. They're just like ratatouille? Like a rat cooking, but it's a worm? What's the name? Remy? With no remedy? Okay, that was awful.
Oh, come on!
Anyway, the interrogation ends, Nunky is dismissed, and we get down to business. Hide, aim, shoot. Full focus on Dror, because his legendary action lets all his minions use bonus actions, and we are absolutely not built for that. Lae'zel slams her Hammer of Doom, boom, into him, and he gets bone chilled. A spell effect. Normally. But a quick check of the item description, and it reads, each strike fills the target with a chilling dread. Dread. That's not magic though, right? That's fear. Legal? I'd say so. Dror disagrees. Heavily. He nearly deletes Lae'zel in 2 hits, but it matters not, for he's defeated, and we move on. The rest of the fight is best described as ground-shakingly, back-breakingly, dying nunkily, throwing goblin-y without actually throwing-y, yet still falling into spider pitsy or something along those lines. It is not a pretty fight, but we do our job, the spiders do theirs, and the camp becomes very, very quiet. But not quiet enough. Oh, that thing is red. I don't want to deal with that. I really don't want to deal with... Oh, bollocks. We shoot him. 0 damage. We throw him. 0 damage. We whack him. 0 damage. We stab him. 0 damage. Welcome to a 10-minute fight with an eyeball. At the very least, the goblin camp is empty, so the screams don't trigger a Dorkin Moonrise 2.0 situation, but that is about as good as it gets. Even the critical hits bring the Z-E-R-O, the zesty eyeball refuses obliteration. What do we even do? Throw it in the spider den? Can they hit him? The eye is hoisted and propelled straight down. And... Nope. Oh, you then? That is so not useful. Another round of shooting, praying, crying, zeros all around. Until... Oh! Sneak attack works! We're not doomed yet. Oh!
Better to hide than fight sometimes. Focus straight through.
But it works often enough for us to survive the war of attrition that should have never existed in the first place. We sprint to Halsin telling him that the grove is going to be under attack, and he says he'll meet us there and runs off. So we go to the grove and find nothing. Yeet a chest to pass the time. Nothing. Talk to some of the inhabitants. Still, nothing. And finally come to the conclusion that it is a long rest we need. Mintara did say it next light. I'm just incompetent, but that's well established by now.
Yep.
While noble heroes might spend the night sharpening blades, planning defenses, strategizing, Nunky follows a vampire into the woods because he promised her a fun time. And while fun is certainly happening, let's just say Girly probably should have been thinking about the massive battle at dawn. Because come morning, the peaceful grove is peaceful no longer.
See to your preparations and then sound the horn. Let's have this done.
Still alive, so that's progress.
Okay, I think we're ready. Let's do it. Bugbears, ogres, spiders, goblins. Mintara has gone beyond and above because where the fuck she found them, nobody knows. Zevlor takes a long, dramatic pause for his speech, while Mintara tickles Nunky's Remy.
And open that gate. The Absolute wants all of them dead.
Now Nonky pauses. Yes, she wants them dead too, but not for the Absolute. No. For Nonky.
For Frodo.
And so the battle for the Grove begins. Nonky, Astarion, Lae'zel, Shadowheart, and the Tieflings versus the Absolute. So, do the Druids just not care that there's like a whole army at the door? Well, I guess they didn't care the first time. Also, where's Halsin? Good questions. Great questions. Unfortunately, I can only uncover that there are goblins with the same condition as Nonky. Death Wish. Isn't that cute? Yeah, no, Halsin said he'd meet us here, implying that he would run quickly and fight alongside us, which evidently he doesn't, which is quite weird, in my humble opinion. Just like it's weird that throwing fire at a bomb threat does not explode it, or that Lae'zel is so far away that she doesn't enter combat, and therefore can eat a full smoke powder barrel, and in spite of the fight having started already, surprise everyone? Or that lighting the smoke powder still does not explode the bomb carriers. Anyway, even with the entire enemy force surprised, we still lack the ability to capitalize on any of it. And more goblins pour in, barrel by barrel. Arca, who finally lived in this run, dies anyway. Though, not through our fault. Well, partially. We did bring the horde here. But okay. And then... Uh-oh, stop! No! The gate is open! Scheiße! Mintara charges forward, and I receive a vision of our team's HP evaporating in our near future. So, I kinda wanna do it once more. I don't want to waste an action, but I also want to see what happens. Like, maybe it's like made for this fight specifically. Nonky blows Lumps of Warhorn again. That's what she said. And this time the ogres rush in. Success ensured, right? I'm so happy and so relieved as they begin to help. Oh look, they deal with each other. An eye for an eye, an ogre for an ogre. Nonky swings, misses, and then I see it. Wait, is Zevlor mad at us? All of a sudden, every ally turns on our party. They have apparently forgotten about the massive goblin army right next to them. And the fight for the grove becomes the fight for our lives. Lae'zel, of all the days to unalive yourself, this is not it! This is not it! But no worries everyone, our diplomat Nonky does the only thing she knows how to do. Create 3 extra enemies. Delightful. Really delightful. And this is the moment the fight becomes more disorderly by the second. Zevlor tries to finish off Lae'zel, Fang comes in to hit Zevlor, Lump identifies Mintara as the real threat, then turns around and punches Lae'zel in the face. Truly enlightened. Everyone is killing everyone. Nonky has never been happier. I mean, this is her wet dream, uncoordinated slaughter, and maximum betrayal. Yay! And yet, in a moment of mercy, we turn on non-lethal attacks, and I forget to turn them off for the remainder of the fight. Therefore, by the end of it all, Zevlor, Asherah, Mintara, and Elekis have entered into involuntary hibernation mode. But we win! Yet, when Sarah shows up, she looks around the battlefield and acts like Zevlor is already lost to us, announcing she'll be the one to escort the tieflings to Baldur's Gate. After a party at our camp, of course. While the tieflings prepare for celebration, we loot the bodies of the fallen.
Someone's reported a theft in this area. It seems you're the likely culprit.
As you might have expected, the roll fails. And...
you'll need to fight your way out of this one.
Ferris! We just knocked out everyone at this gate and you want to fight over loot?
Time to strike.
Stop this, or my friends will rest until they avenge me. Girl, please. What friends do you have left? Look around. Ceres is also granted a power nap, and her friends don't seem to care. There is not a hint of bitterness as they profusely thank us for saving their lives. Then, at the end of the line, a familiar face. Halsin. Returned. Late. Can't even ask him why he skipped the fight. All he knows is that Kaga's dead and we're heading on a trip to Moonrise. But wait a minute. If Halsin does not have to go down to speak with Kaga, does that mean we can? We sprint down the stairs looking around. No chanting, no idol, no Halsin, just the druids in their tranquil state.
Murder is forbidden.
Not for long, dear narrator. Not for long. Emerald Grove?
What might you be?
More like Emerald Grave. Boo, 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 boo.
No time to waste.
Will we ever recover from my terrible jokes?
This guy stinks!
No, but neither will the inhabitants of the Grove. It's only fair. What is less fair is that at the next long rest, instead of party guests, Nonky only gets scolded by a severely disappointed Will, who's apparently not disappointed enough to leave. Takes one to know one, I'd say. We wake up refreshed and return to the Grove to check on our knockouts. Zevlor, gone. The others, gone. Ceres? Very much alive and absolutely done with our existence. The feeling is mutual. We immediately go for another rest, and this time the tieflings appear in our camp. Everyone's drinking, celebrating, and pretending they didn't watch Nonky betray alliances knocking out half their leadership. But Ceres did not forget. Nor forgive. Oh, come on, we knock you out once and you're still salty. I really want to knock her out again. Oh, but that's gonna compromise the run, innit? Self-control. Self-control. Our companions are far more receptive to Nonky's request for conversation. Gil, who, not too long ago, was displeased with Nonky's disinterest in magic, decides flirting might just be the way forward. Will, who hissed at her not even seconds ago, now mentions Nonky and Hero in the same breath. Shadowheart offers to share drinks, Lae'zel is unusually generous with compliments, and Astarion drops the big 1 for 3.
I love you.
Having fun now, are you?
I am.
Morning finally rears its head, and with it, Halsin offers our potential routes to Moonrise.
The decision is yours, but I'd favor the Underdark. Even a place like that is the lesser evil compared to the shadow-cursed lands.
But first, the mountain pass. On a mode or not, we are not skipping the Githyanki plot, especially since Lae'zel is basically welded into our companion lineup, even if it means facing the single most terrifying gang in the entire game. The Patrol.
I'll see it does you no harm. Follow me.
Lae'zel tries with all her might to force out the lie.
You honor me with this duty, Kithrak. I shall alert my caretaker with haste.
Lae'zel,
No, Lae'zel. No. Voss pieces out on his dragon after commanding the patrol to carry out our execution. Although we managed to take down one of them straight away. And then Lae'zel gets instant karma. Astarion is left clinging to life by a threat thinner than his morals, and Nonky is vaporized before we can even blink. By the time Astarion got electrocuted and chopped into confetti, it would have been a total party wipe if Shadowheart hadn't been strategically left behind. Withers puts everyone back together, and we try again, this time sending Nonky to hide in the shadows while the professionals show how it's done. Astarion leans in for the shot, surprising the kids. One down, then another. Only Beretha remains, queen of the 2 swings and you're out method. Sadly, it's a tried and tested routine that always works. Lae'zel is revived mid-fight, then dead again within 0.2 seconds. Astarion and Shadowheart try their best, but Beretha is built different. And Shadowheart also learns about the ways of the Gith. Withers, who at this point must be wondering why he did not choose a different crew to help save the world, revives them both. And finally, with one last blow, Beretha falls. With the map to the crash in hand, and absolutely none of the skills required to handle what's coming, we march onward to the mountain pass.
Here goes nothing.
Even though the cable cart unlocks on the first try, Nonky is tempted to explore a different route that we've never taken before. Oh, traps. A repulsion mine. Oh, I never really learned to why. I mean, it's like, you know, honor mode is like a few rules. One is definitely don't add extra punishments, but I also feel like it's like don't fuck around and find out. Don't what if. Stick to the parts that are known and use your fucking brain. Am I doing any of those? Well, yes, but in like the reverse, or what's that called? Like the backwards meaning. Oh man.
Fate spins along as it should.
For a little while, we stick to the script, taking the cable car down and approaching the monastery where we watch the scene unfold from a distance. Okay, am I crazy or does he... Well, no, not this guy. Come on. This guy looks somewhat like the Wish version of Handsome Shrek. Or have I lost it?
It's hideous!
I might have lost it. Probably brain damage from that repulsion mine. Oh. We scale the vines we noticed earlier near the waypoint and enter the monastery from the Gramishka room, with their magical allergies not being a concern of ours. And thus it goes quite well. The eagles, however, were a different story. Unbeknownst to me, they had the ability to summon more eagles. And what does that mean? More gales. Now, that is the last thing anyone wants multiplied. One is quite enough. But these giant birds, they swarmed us, barely leaving room to attack, for all we could focus on was healing. By some miracle, we do not die, not even a single person, when I fully expected a wipe with the amount of downed people at any given moment. But hey, we have the hammer, and we find the rest of the ceremonial weapons to unlock the Dawnmaster's crest. At this point, all that's left is to descend into the Githyanki crash. A place of discipline, of order, of artistic expressions. First with paint, then with blood. Teaching the youngling in the act the sacred doctrine of Mother Gith. Violence. The Gith inside of the hatchery nearly teach us the same lesson, but Lae'zel saves the day and the egg. A level up follows this life lesson, the wheel spinning and landing on Sorcerer. Well, that sounds like a terrible result for a no magic run, but the Draconic bloodline we spin next grants us Draconic Resilience, aka an armor class of 13 and 1 extra hit point. A win is a win, and we take all we can get, for we need it. Especially when Nonki's decision making starts to look like this.
It seems you've pushed your luck too far. Time to defend yourself.
Needless to say, one does not get second chances here. But the real question is, do we get a second life? If Nonki had not fled turns ago, this run would have ended right here, right now. But instead, we sat back and watched a single Gramishka nearly clean house while we waited for our party to die. And honestly, I enjoyed watching that little creature achieve more than all of us combined. Once everyone was breathing again, the rematch went much better. Yeah, no, that's a lie. It did not go well. More Gith poured in from the hallway. We lose control instantly, but chaos? That's our native terrain, and with a bit of spice, style, and stupidity, really, that's all we need to survive. Onward then, to the Gustil's office, where Lae'zel steps into the Satis at last. The long-awaited moment, her purification, her chance to finally be free of the tadpole. Through enlightenment, or depending on your interpretation, medieval dentistry. The machine hooks onto her brain like it's trying to juice it. Lae'zel screams. And Nonki watches with mild fascination. Until our dream guardian intervenes, saving her from being blended into a green smoothie. Dealing with the doctor herself was a mere formality, seeing as we'd already killed everyone else in our earlier experiment. And with that resolved, we head to the opposite side of the crash to visit the trader, Jira. We just wanted to take a peek at her wares, just a little look to see what a transaction needs to balance out to if we eventually want to trade. when Nonky's eyes fall on the large potion of healing. And you already know what happens when she spots a potion of healing. I clicked it. We traded. We're not in barter mode. Oh no, 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 no.
On your way then.
In accordance with the hostile hospitality protocol, Nonky thrusts it into Jira. Combat begins and we are already on the back foot because no one was healed yet, or fighting with the intent to kill. Thankfully, Lae'zel's action search fulfills our duty to kill the traitor. Not that the surrounding get care, they go feral. Rawr. Astarion drops, our HP bars are blushing and they're ready to parry spam is killing my will to live. And it turns out we all share that sentiment, right, Lae'zel? Right, Shadowheart? Nonky? Yeah, we already knew that. While my mind was already dreaming of Act 2, our bodies remain in Act 1. And so back we go to the other wheel to reveal how we'll deal with try 5. It lands. No, 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 not again. Oh, please. We're never going to make it, are we? But that doesn't mean we cannot try. Try 5. Let's go. This time there were no weird Nautiloid antics. Nonky behaved, Lae'zel behaved, Shadowheart behaved, and even us showed good manners again. We even score so much XP from the main fight that the second we crash, we get to level up instantly. And that has not happened before. Nonky, a monk level 2. The flow state activated. The key to Act 1 has been found. Every companion onboarded. Every fight a breeze. Every temptation resisted. Okay, we may have relieved Barth of his inventory and Will did not appreciate the artistry, and therefore we do a little waddle of shame because we don't want to offend anybody. Oh come on, I barely did anything. The conversation offers no escape. Not through talking, at least. Annoyed, I switched to another character for a quick shoot and run. Minus the running, just to break her attention. But instead it triggers a sneer towards Astarion, which somehow gives him the ability to talk us out of it. Not that the roll is successful, so we switch characters again, and Rika meets her final destination. Elegus attempts to avenge her, and follows quickly after. But then the real problem appears in the form of Goldani. Why she wasn't present during the Big Grove battle last run, I will never know. But she decides today is the day to become a savage.
Don't you know I'm a savage?
Nonky eats dirt, Lae'zel munches grass, Shadowheart swallows blood, and Astarion contemplates a career change as he struggles to hit. By the time the dust clears, the ground is littered with our consequences. And the experience flows in like a tide. No tieflings were harmed in the... Yeah, no, a lot of tieflings were harmed. Anyway, the wheel turns and circles onto Ranger, with the favored enemy being the Mage Breaker. On point, I'd say. Absolutely loathe them casters. What? And as our favorite terrain, the Wasteland Wanderer Cold, like Nonky's heart. From here, it was a well-rehearsed play. Kick a squirrel, save a child, admire Natty's cadaver, and questionable end-of-life choices with a trowel. Fight Arca and her brother. Wait. So they don't actually have the key. Ah. Crates it is then. At least we now carry the crates around with us everywhere for such emergencies and free Sasa from her cage. Only this time we didn't clear out the goblins in the cave first.
Did some bleeding arts show up to save the druid?
So she gets to kill her own co-workers while we help and escort her out to continue on the known path. Cleansing the goblins in the blighted village and every living, breathing creature around, even the not living nor breathing skeletons underneath, and the bard that follows. Nonky is in control. She levels up as a ranger, specializing in archery, and we settle the score with the ogres for the only therapy that actually helps is vengeance. Perfectly normal. Perfectly healthy. But a full wipe of the village required us to take a jump into the well to shoot some spider booties. Nonky learns what it's like to be pickled with toxins while wrapped in silk and regret. The others work desperately to stabilize the situation, and when Astarion falls, his ambulance, in the form of Shadowheart, gets stuck in the same sticky situation. A minor setback, but nothing our safety net withers can't fix, getting the gang back on their feet to head out and fight the Spider Queen. The first spider falls instantly, a clean extermination. But we forgot about a little something that comes in 3 groups of 6 with 8 legs each. But it's fine, we know how to handle them. We did it before. Rely on falling damage, kill the big kid, let Mummy Gossamer tomb a wall, and forget it's a new round, so accidentally getting entombed anyway. Classic. Lizelle doesn't even make it to the explosion. The kiddos take her out long before that can happen. But not to worry. Astarion is already making a run for it. Good, because there goes Shadowheart. Now, we had no fancy arrows that could transport us out of harm's way, but we did have a potion of speed. Douse the vampire, stab the kids, and run! Run! Except the ethereal John lets the spider just phase right into your escape route. It's really quite rude.
Closed captions on.
I'm fine. I'm okay. I'm fine. I'm fine. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. What did I do to deserve this?
Closed captions off.
Thank you for listening to me screaming, because now follows the part where you are going to scream at me. 3, 2, 1.
Time's up. Butthole time.
Are you screaming yet? You should be, because I completely forgot to spin the wheel of death before dishonor. I know. It was late. Okay, I was tired.
I lost my focus. I got too cocky.
And a tad fed up. Just a little bit. A smidge. A lot. If you were hoping the wheel would spice things up or offer mercy, nope. The punishment roster remains exactly the same. So, Mamma Mia, here we go again. Try 6. 6. 6.
Oh my god!
Nonky awakens on a Nautiloid with only one goal in mind. Speed run. She sprints through the ship, abandoning us, scoops up Lizelle and immediately strips her of her armor, frees Shadowheart and relieves her too. No shame, no hesitation, efficiency. The 3 of them charged towards the lone intellect devourer, who quickly went the way of all flesh, and because we left us behind, we then ran back to get our little friend, and he was still friendly. Dale. So, for the first time in forever, we roll into this Nautiloid battle with a full squadron, soaking up XP from the imps and the boars, snagging some loot along the way, and ignoring the Cambion, for there is no way in hell we kill that guy.
Got him!
No issues, no extra reinforcements, straight to the transponder to get back where we belong. But this run, this Nonky, is not like the others, where previous incarnations grew wiser, stronger, better. She is worse. Much worse.
A hand? Anyone? Ow! Perhaps I should have clarified? A helping hand? Anyone?
All these past runs and we never click it. And I am so done choosing the known paths. And I'm bored.
This branch of flesh is begging to be pruned, and its sap sucked from.
Okay, fantasize about cutting it off then.
Mistress Eyelids, stop! Cease, you loon!
As soon As the dreams cross the threshold of your imagination, you snap back to realize they have all come true.
This run is officially in fuck around and find out mode again, and we are just starting. The few remaining fingers on this hand have grown pallid, cold, and stiff. Oh, so not only did we sever it, we gobbled on it. And to think I thought she was in defeat, With Gale stashed neatly in our pockets and Lae'zel rescued from these greedy tieflings, we level up.
Stand down!
The wheel turns, and it decrees Nonki stays a monk. A new route to the crypt offered us a new cutscene to tickle our brain. But more importantly, it puts us in the perfect position to rock Gimblebox world. We blazed through the section in record time. My personal, that is. I know there are people who have finished this game in less time than it takes me to get through character creation. But with our only source of revival secured, we arrive at the Grove in time to watch Will nearly die, Aradin actually die, and Zevlor enjoy the ensuing peace and quiet. We spin the wheel again for Nonki and the results are clear. Monk level 3 Way of the Shadow as her subclass. Inside the Grove, things go according to plan. Bugbear squashed, Nadira silenced, Timber flattened, Alfira's loot liberated, Arabella envenomed, Nettie. Wait, Arabella? Ah, so that's what happens.
Gone. By the gods, Korga, what have you done?
Look, I told you, this run is not like the others. Unhinged takes on a whole new meaning, especially after taking Nettie out. Because this room has no windows and no doors, which offers you this chilling challenge to find a way out. Unlike past times where the stone slab opened automatically, this time it was locked, just like the other one in the room. And we cannot fast travel out of this area either. Of course, there's always my way. Because I genuinely thought we had soft-locked ourselves into the world's saddest on-a-mode attempt ever. But by pure dumb luck, Nonki tries on the Key of Ancients. And all of a sudden, we can get out. To celebrate, we return to our happy haunts, culling the mighty and feeble in equal measure, giving the people something to mourn. You're welcome. Interestingly, because Aradin died, on his body we found the key to open that stubborn chest of him rather than having to resort to percussive maintenance again, which got me thinking. Someone in camp must hold the key to Zaza's cell. And since we knew from the previous run that it's not on Arca or her brother, Zevlor became suspect number 1. Except, no matter how we positioned ourselves, how we tiptoed around him, do a little dance, no shadow was dark enough to pick his pocket. Not until he walks over to Tilsy's. Not until Shadowheart drifts close and with the grace of a rogue Sharon slips a hand into the only pocket she could reach into. Oh, I would never have guessed she'd be the one carrying it. I probably would have looted half the Grove before trying her, how lucky. For once, the game thinks we deserved it. Oh, we deserve each other, me and this key. So now she's just non with key. Oh, no, with key. That fortune subsists as we convince the siblings to leave Zaza alone. Though Lemnos kept side-eyeing Nonki and giving her warnings, and she hadn't even done anything. The first time, when she then tries to open the cage, he blocks her. So what else was there to do but to give him a gentle, encouraging nudge? He did not appreciate that. He is now deceased. And he was not the only one. And she was not the only one. And it was not the only one. But whether from disarming the traps or sheer stealth, we managed to slip all the way to Ceres, delivering her the cargo of death. This means that, for once, Oscar is not only alive and well, he's also free. He just doesn't know it yet, blissfully unaware of the events required to make that happen. Shadowheart wisely stands tucked between the secret wall when this ill-timed explosive enthusiasm wipes nearly everyone. So she could flee back with us to fix our collective stupidity, and he gives us another round at wiping the place clean.
Until Baldur's Gate, then.
Baldur's Gate? Sir, we are hours, days, months, possibly, from reaching that city, especially fighting the way we currently do. And who better to sniff out that weakness than the gnolls? The first fight goes well. The second fight goes, well, as you can see, not too well. And the third fight goes so well, our well-being is not guaranteed. Lae'zel, Shadowheart, and Astarion all become unwell and say farewell to life, while Nonki is not allowed to do well and sprints for her life. We run in for round 2, noticing that the gnolls have already done us the pleasure of ending the fragile masculinity inside, because Flint is a dominating force of nature. But Nonki knows how to hustle, so she runs back to camp and operates a revival on-demand courier service. First Shadowheart, then Astarion. Lae'zel nearly needed it, but finally we bring down that snarling D-man and claim the missing shipment. And just when we think the chaos might subside, the universe reminds us that peace is temporary. For the night grew quiet, but the wind whispered the promised words of death.
I've met steaming piles of excrement more pleasant than you.
And Nonki takes that as a compliment. And she hates compliments, therefore, rather than welcoming our agitated bard into camp like we always do, she's told to piss off. Nonki likes to hunt. She finds nothing more exhilarating than a challenge. And we are not that different, Nonki and I. I say over footage of a gore floor. Not what I meant. Not what I meant. I was alluding to the challenge part. But sure.
What's that supposed to mean?
And to honor that challenge, the wheel twirls around its axis, revealing that Nonki gets to multi-class into a rogue. Seems like Astarion's influence is rubbing off on her. That or she's stalking him. Either way, it fits. Then, just like our other punishments, we have to start from scratch. Sending Scratch to Dog Heaven, beheading Karlach to send the Protector with him, and slicing up the Owlbear Cup to complete the family reunion. But first, a word from our sponsor. This resurrection break is brought to you by WPP. Tired of your companions meeting an untimely end while you choose to watch rather than work for your money? With Witness's back pocket, you can get them back fast. It only costs you a one-time fee of 200 gold. What a steal! Grab yours now! Offer requires hands nimble enough to rummage where the sun doesn't shine. Withers will not smite you for reaching near his posterior, but WBB is not responsible for emotional distress, physical consequences, or any demise resulting from user error. Skill-related combustions and plot-essential sacrifices are excluded from the service. All that to say, we rely on WBP constantly, because the mate is the second most deadly owlbear in the world, and to face him in his natural habitat.
Sweating bullets. What you're looking at is the equivalent to a marauding lion, a great white shark. There's no difference. They'll kill you just as quick. These things have a really cracked strike. You can't move quick enough to get out of the way.
He's got a relatively small head for the size of his body. Big, fat body.
Ooh, boy.
What a score! Flattens right out.
You're alright, buddy. We've had enough of each other.
I guess this is what it's like. To have your life flash in front of you.
And with our punishment complete, we gather our trophies. Bodies. Mates, and put them back together. Then it's off to the Blighted Village, where once again we commit the noble work of clearing out every breathing thing above, below, and deep within the Whispering Depths. Before you worry, we deliberately leave the axe intact.
2 seconds earlier.
Part of me feels like if we can't do it with the kids there, then are we even worthy of this run? No. Well, pride goes before destruction and a haughty spirit before a fall. Despite taking out the big kids before Mummy Matriarch can scream for reinforcements, 2 of our own get Gossamer tombed instantly. Which means it's time for yet another WBB Premium Revival bundle. And for someone who bragged about leaving the X to prove our worthiness, I now feel deeply ashamed for having to resort back to this good old strategy. But what choice did we have? Shadowheart and Astarion don't survive their tomb explosions. Lae'zel doesn't survive the children. Twice. I hate these kids. I hate them. But once everyone is resurrected, reheated, and returned to the battlefield, it's just the Queen left. And with a tiny bit of effort...
Be honest.
I am being honest.
Okay, fine. A lot of effort. We finally bring down this 8-legged nightmare. Oh. Don't make me do this again. Don't make me do this again. But after that, it's suspiciously smooth sailing. We ram the incriminating evidence we oh so carefully collected straight into Karga's face. What? We send the druids back to the shadows where they belong. And for once, we do a good deed.
The ritual is stopped. That's all Arabella wanted. That's what she tried so hard to do.
We also tried really hard not to lose another tiefling kid. We failed spectacularly. Everyone who lived in past runs dies in this one and vice versa. Because the battle with Ethel goes anything but skillfully. And I really wanted that piece of kelp with pus blisters ripped straight from her scalp. But Nonki gives up. Astarion follows. Lae'zel is struggling. She cannot even land an opportunity attack. Or any attacks, really. Her final contribution? Yikes. Astarion, upon witnessing that tragedy, simply lies down and accepts death. Shadowheart tries to keep Nonki alive, but there is no running. There is no hope. There's no retirement plan. There's only one thing left to do. Expanding the market from WBP to WSB. And so Ethel is dead and the ungrateful Mayrina lives. Not that we can bring Saxy Connor back, because that requires magic. Besides, Nonki will never pass up an opportunity to smash something. That's what she said.
You bastard!
So we are doing wonderfully. Gil dead, Sazad dead, Merkon dead, Ethel dead. But if everyone else dies, we live. Which makes it the perfect moment to revisit an old grievance and settle it once and for all. Karma, 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 beep, 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 beep. Can you believe the perfect song came out today for this moment? We don't have Sazad to sweet talk us into the goblin camp, so for the first time ever, Nonki has to bat her eyelashes at the guards and usher us into the camp.
My eyes! You shitey fixate!
To be fair, it's the most Nonki entrance imaginable, followed by the most Nonki exit imaginable, and she doesn't even execute it herself. No, you're not going anywhere. Oh, these children, man. They're dramatic. But let's rewind just a smidge, because we got to spin the wheel again. Nonki hits monk level 4, which means we get to choose a feat. But not we, the wheel. So we spin again and get Shield Master. Now, to me, a clueless noob who thrives only in chaos, that didn't sound horrible. But to you, a blessed viewer of enormous intellect with massive brain capacity, otherwise you wouldn't be here, right? You smart motherfucker, you just love watching people below you struggle, don't you? You little psychopath! I mean to say, Nonki whips out a shield, even though it says she's not proficient with them, and loses her an armored defense bonus as a result. So, like, I guess that means shields are technically seen as a type of armor, but then again, the wiki calls it equipment, and I did not think, well, yeah, that's clear, but I did not think that counts, and, Anyway, you were not here for the big brain strats, right? Well, I sure hope not, for as we quietly grab a bit of extra XP by killing Booyak Piddle, we not so quietly get into a fight with the whole camp. And what is louder than killing a goblin? Killing a goblin! Oh my god. I cringed. I hate myself. After 20 sweaty minutes, we're still standing. Better than we ever did. No, really, no one died. I'm quite impressed. Goblins, dead. Abdurok, dead. Got, dead. Drawer, dead. Mintara marching proudly towards her death. And we long rest to prepare for that moment. But that night, Nonki does not have fun, nor plan strategies. She falls sick. Horribly sick.
If the sickness does not pass come dawn, I will end us all.
As Nonki spasms from the suggestion, there he was.
Don't worry.
Finally, time to properly introduce you to Nonki's Lord and Savior, the Emperor. The pretty dream guardian. My guardian. No, not her dad this time. Ew, just to make that one clear, not going there again. Definitely not, never. Who, for the record, looks like this because of a wheel, not because I have some weird thing for Nutella-loving hobbit-sized ginger pop stars, okay?
Are you sure about that?
The dream dissolves, the sickness fades, and with dawn comes the roar of battle at the Grove's gate. At least this time, we knew we should use the burrowed oil barrels to our advantage, not to make enemies of our allies, and that lethal attacks are the only ethical choice if you really have to. Except Zevlor survives, so the normal victory cutscene kicks in. The tieflings are safe, Halsin is back, and honestly, Nonki could also use a
bloody drink.
With an emphasis on blood, of course. We go down into the grove to make it a grave again, but the druids don't even put up much of a fight this time. Not that that changes anything about our approach, just speeds up the process. And so we can speed through the party, where Corilla is sneaking around, the Gid Patrol, where Beretta has reinvented herself as Queen of Three Strikes, Guild 2, the Mountain Pass, where no one has the strength to release the cable card and therefore Nonki must take the scenic route. Luckily, she knows what to expect this time.
Boy, that escalated quickly. I mean, that really got out of hand fast.
It jumped up a notch.
It did, didn't it?
The Grimishka's bodies lie behind us, the ceremonial weapons clatter in our pockets after a 40-minute fight, and we plonk them onto their dusty little altars to claim the Dawnmaster crest. Hold on, a 40-minute fight?
Are you serious?
Well, it's not like we didn't know the Eagles call for backup. Heck, we are so hungry for XP that while we can take this mother effer out before she calls in help, we deliberately choose not to. 5 more eagles descend from the skies, and Shadowheart, who was in hiding no longer. 1 eagle dives towards her, and another follows suit, bringing back Gil. Wait, what? Kobolds? There's so many of them! Bitch, what the fuck? While the birds are busy hurling our companions around with their helping hands, the kobolds have now joined the battle. 12 of them, using their sneaky tunnel system to get up in our business.
And I've decided that I want to die.
Nonki climbs down to heal Shadowheart. Astarion leaps forward to what he claims is safety, but he nearly snaps his ankles on the way down. Then the birds travel similar paths. It's climbing the ladder, okay. We're scattered across the entire bloody map. No one remotely safe, everyone one sneeze away from death, but no one is dead either. Not that we weren't going to be in the near future, and so Lae'zel takes her turn to run far, far away. It's where the fun-sized Timu, the handsome Shrek came from, presumably. And it's just in time too, because Astarion's ankles are as weak as his heart and he collapses. But then, plot twist, the eagles suddenly decide that they hate kobolds more than they hate us, And the kobolds suddenly decide that stoning these knockoff wizards is way more satisfying than hitting us. By the time Lae'zel revives our two fallen lovebirds, the tide has completely turned. And we are confident in our abilities. And with ours, I mean theirs. Gaining XP doing nothing, it's the dream! And so, a 40-minute bloodbath comes to its glorious end. Next time we should get the Gramishkas to fight them as well. So we can actually sit back and relax. Right, the stupid ideas just keep coming, huh?
Yes.
Like the bright decision to whack a gate open for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32 times. And then walk around and do it again to the other gate for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31 times to get a potion of mind reading and a scroll of gust of wind, neither of which I am allowed to use. And I knew this, right? Because I did the same thing back in run 4.
Flashback. End of flashback.
Yeah, wacky business indeed. But at least as we step into the gift crash, we progress our levels. And Nonky's wheel decides on Rogue level 2, which is nice because she now gets the extra options for bonus actions. And we can move quick. Artistry in the hallways, artistry in the hatchery, artistry in the infirmary, artistry during and following the safe disc, artistry in the training hall, twice. But one should never underestimate the weight of all these artistic expressions on one's back. For the loot is so heavy, it's time to trade. 1 transaction this time. 1 execution this time. And not ours this time, which means at long last, we are officially further than we've ever been. Yes!
No? Then I will take it from your corpse!
Nonky hasn't received such a compelling proposal in ages and gets to work instantly. Fortunately, her companions spot the war magic being used to make that happen and put an end to this slanderous nonsense. A resurrection later, the shard sinks into the heart of the machinery, the barrier lifts, and I weigh my options before stepping in to meet the Chakrai. I'm scared. Guys, I'm scared. Okay.
What a day. What's next, I wonder?
Like, I shouldn't risk it.
Pull yourself together.
But then again, I totally should.
Breathe deep and move.
That's not bad advice at all, actually. Thanks, Nonky. Nonky decides to be cooperative, mostly because Lae'zel asked, but also because... why not?
No.
Vlaket appears in an instant with her little request.
The prison is compromised. Kill them!
A request Nonky cannot deny.
Be wary of the creature's lying tongue. Cut it out if you must.
We enter the prism looking out over the astral plane, already slightly annoyed because Ed forces a VIP meet and greet experience.
Oh, don't look at me. That is all yours.
And as you can probably tell, Nonky hates meet and greets.
And now, you've come here to murder me.
Everyone always thinks I want to murder them. I just want to talk. Is a lie. Dream Sheeran recounts his Louvre-level heist of the prism. Guess we finally know who pulled that one off. But when he lifts the sword, something in Nonki twitches. Her brows furrow, her heart pounding, a bead of sweat sliding down her forehead while she catches a glimpse of another life. The sword now in her hands, driving the blade straight into his heart. And that's for Dork, and for Mindblown, and for your stupid Theatrix. It doesn't kill him, but it does seem to wound his ego enough to shrink it down to the size of his tentacle. Which tentacle? I'll leave that to your interpretation. Lae'zel can barely believe it, but knows her people will understand. Though the moment we return to the monastery, the words flowing off her tongue are deemed
Irrelevant, Geik wretch. The Queen has spoken. Your death is decreed.
When a defining honor mode fight breaks out, you know it can only bring pain. Immense, soul-crushing pain. And this one was no different. The Chakrai summons what I can only describe as the purple swords of ethereal and eternal misery. 2 every round. It's impossible to keep up with them, while also having to deal with all of the gits themselves, so we do what we always do when skill fails us. A little bada bing bada boom. Yes, sir. But no amount of smoke powder can fix our fundamental inabilities. We miss, we fall, we die. Nonki sprints for her life, but the sword just keeps following. We miss, we shove, we summon more. When you have full hit points and 8 swords on your tail, you no longer have full hit points. And that goes for everybody. Nearly everybody. For if a monk rogue elf can't outrun a bunch of floating cutlery, is she even worthy? No, which is why she can, and she does. When she closes in on the barrier, the fight auto-stops.
Wow! Incredible!
3 pop-ups later, and we are back, and the swords vanished. Until the fight resumes, and they immediately return with a spirit of vengeance. Our bodies collapse, our minds collapse. And 52? From a sword that isn't even a solid? That's more hit points than we even have. That's bullshit.
I am at my absolute limit. I am beyond anger.
When I said no amount of smoke powder could fix our inabilities, that was only half true. It can fix the cause of those inabilities. Or not. Not fully, at least. The swords keep spawning. We miss, we scream, but Lae'zel refuses a third wipe and she gets her revenge.
What good? This heart of stone, for it to be shattered.
Okay, well, a heart of stone might just be the one fitted to wield a mace of blood. And that's where we are heading next. The sun rises in the east and sets in the west. Latender gets spun the way he suggests.
The Morning Lord's wrath awaits, heretic. Retreat whilst thou can.
Nonki does not listen. Nonki runs to the maze and grabs it, because what screams dirge more than a weapon with blood in its name? I forgot the crest, didn't I? Wait, that's why she was talking about misfortune and disaster. Frick me. Wow, I am getting dumber by the minute. And it's in her bloody pocket as well. Oh.
Everything is in motion. All within these walls are doomed to destruction unless you act.
The mechanism locks. Nonki is trapped. There is no way we can disable all 4 machines, not without magic. So we do what we always do in this run. Run! Everyone dies. We run. We live. But do we this time? Nonki can't shoot through the barriers. She can't teleport. She can't escape. Astarion searches desperately for a way out when a single brain cell sparks into life. What if we jump over the barrier? That could work. Possibly. Great idea! We just did not bring any, and while we scavenged a pathetic view from outside, it obviously wasn't enough. Nonki? Doomed. Astarion. Lost in the rubble. Lae'zel. No one even knows, but Shadowheart makes it out in time. Phew.
What in the sweet hells were you thinking? Activating that lance? I was right there!
After unleashing enough chaos for Nonki to qualify as a natural disaster, we take a long rest. Voss raids the camp, and Lae'zel decides her path.
I will meet you in Baldur's Gate.
Bold assumption, because we are still nowhere near that city. Not by miles, not by kilometers, because the entire Underdark waits below. And we haven't even started. And don't get me started. Whatever light we had left to guide us, gone. Snuffed out the moment we shattered the moon. Definitely not already before that.
Well, if the doublet fits.
And it took the light bulb for good ideas with it too. That's what you get when you settle for Shah. This is what you get when you can't lockpick crates. And this is what you get when you hop some shrooms and the Underdark sends its very own prairie dog after you. Now, we weren't scared of the bullet. We should have been. And now we are. Terrified. That monstrosity is impenetrable, and it's only thanks to this arrow of transportation that Astarion can actually flee from its commitments while everyone else, well, survives? Question mark? We meet and listen to the Sporeheads. We get advice from a Melum, recruit Glut, and find ourselves in a field of bang.
A mushroom that releases dangerous spores.
Please, you help.
I'll let you guess how long it took us to free Balin and retrieve the Noble Stalk. Red for I am speed. Ka-chow. Blue for we're in, we're out, but also boom. Yellow for 7 sweaty minutes. Or green for what is turn-based mode? And it's green! Of course it's green, because who stands in a field of explosive mushrooms and remembers turn-based mode exists? We sure don't. So, no Balin, no Noble Stalk, and still no way to kill the bullet when it shows up for the second time. Not that we're alone in that, even the Hook Horror struggle with them. We do make the discovery, thanks to the anti-magic Susur flowers, that reanimating life with spores is not magical, and thus allowed.
Silence. I am breathing life.
Naturally, this inspires confidence, and we immediately pick a fight with a spectator, instantly losing Glut, the Spore Servant, and all hope of winning against the Bullet and the Dwagar. Brilliant. The spectator falls, we put the Spore Servant out of his misery, and we run straight into explosive hits, burrowed bits, and bullet hits. No, Shadowheart! That's twice now. Shadowheart and the Bullet are not friends, so maybe she should cherish the ones who keep resurrecting her. After a WPP, then a WSP, and a WAF, wow! Alchemist Fire, we confirm that when everything you throw does 2 damage, you are deeply, profoundly screwed. But he leaves us alone. thankfully. So we went from bits to hits, and now we get to look at some fish tits. Puldrip the Zealous is inclined to offer Nonky to Bual, but little does he know that this Balbe has spilled more blood than his soggy prophet has ever dreamed of. And when the bloodlust aligns, oh, Nonky loves a partnership. Right, Starine?
How sweet.
We leave the fishies behind and head for the arcane tower. But without lightning damage to disable the turrets, we default to our ult. Run. Nonky and Astarion make it next to the tower. But can they make it inside? Now to go inside, we whack the door. Boom. Nice. One more time. Yes. Okay, one more time. Hit it. Hit it. Hit it. Okay, kick it in then. Boom. Nope. Hit it. Kick it. Boom. Again. Hit it. Kick it. Twist it. Bop it. Oh, Nonky, get a grip. Nonky. This has to be the worst monk I've ever seen. Not that I've seen many monks, but if they're anything like her, well, holy shit. She did it. She did it! Finally. At least they managed to shut off the turrets, nick some ingredients, convince the tower's AI that she is definitely 100% not Nonky, though we shouldn't be looking at the doorbell footage, and we finally do what brought us here in the first place. And yeet them we do. Nice big shoves, down great heights. Oh, love that feeling. What Nonky loves a little less is talking to Dwagar, who are desperately trying to make their problem her problem. Yeah, good luck with that. Peach.
Fine. Suppose I'll just eat you then.
Oh, okay. Damn. Okay, they are hungry. Hungrier for those damn boots than Gale ever was. While their appetite might be like Gale's, their personalities take more after Nonky, who loves roasting herself. And so do they. But the fight is rough, and running only causes the zombies to chase us across the map, meaning we have to resort to actual strategies again to cleanse out the rot. Which we do, eventually. The Sovereign is impressed. We spare Blurg and Omelum from our hostile hospitality by simply leaving them alone, and we return to the Blighted Village. Not to craft, no. To combine materials. Look, it's the game's fault. Different words mean different things. Combining is not crafting, crafting is crafting, and there's your inspirational quote for the new year. I suck at posting schedules because I suck at life. And now it's time to set sail for the final stretch of the Underdark, the Grimforge.
I am keen to sever Nir's head. A shame we must do the favor of freeing him first.
Thank you, Lae'zel, for that marvelous introduction. I put a spin on you. And now you're mine. You can't stop the claws it brings through. I in line. One level in bar, a lyre in hand, a performance proficiency, and spells that are banned. I put a spin on you. And now you're a monk rogue bard. Hocus Pocus might be prohibited this run, but deals are always on the table. And while Nonky finally masters the art of finalizing the deal, she forgets to negotiate for us not to have to deal with the scrying eye. And really, nobody wants to deal with that thing again. With good reason. So we take the L on allies and leave to fight a man and his spiders. I swear we did not do anything. All hail the absolute. Praise be. Or not. Okay, crap. We try to sneak attack the floating snitch, praying that it will just stay quiet. I don't like this. Please don't call all of them. Please don't call all of them. Please. No. No. I hate these f***ers. I hate them. I swear to every god in this game, if I ever get my hands on one of them, I will force it to watch Skibidi Toilet. And I will shove it up Bigfoot's ass. And I will wait for it to be shut back out. And then I will show it Johnny yes papa, and it can watch Cocomelon until the end of its fucking life. And why are you not hostile? You are closer. After that perfectly reasonable outburst, Nonky forces the eye into a boat. But we'll need to get all hands on deck to deal with these sailors, for they'll be wasting costly resources to end a crew. And I thought we were going down with the ship, until Foehammer uses her mind powers to puppeteer Lae'zel, and this mastermind move means everyone just calms down. And don't get me wrong, while I'm glad that the fight is over, let it be known, this transgression won't be forgotten. So we start clearing out the Dwagar in groups. No witnesses, no survivors, no problems. Blinding the Absolute was also easy, since Mr. Shitty Eyeball was also still wedged in a sad little boat, and nobody was safe from our wrath except for our potential allies and the traders. Because, well, we do want to trade. Cremon, however, is still furious. Convincing him to trade takes persuasion, in the form of some extra goodies. But hey, we got what we wanted, and he gets what he deserves. Oh yeah. Oh no. Definitely going to regret this. Is everybody hostile? Yup. Okay. Lovely. Amazing.
The worst is over. It's all downhill from here.
At least Nonky can use her new bardic inspiration, following in the footsteps of Dream Sheeran, to hype up her companions. But we need more than hype. We need to not die. We need help. Shadowheart runs for her life while the Dwagar hunt her down. This is it. But no, this was not it. One arrow of transportation and she flies to the spot where she can flee. Unfortunately, because Lae'zel stabilized instead of dying, Withers can't find her name in the archive. So we return with only 3 out of 4. And Nonky immediately charges off.
Why are you running? Why are you running?
Everyone is apparently still on high alert, which means we enter this fight from a horrible position. And killing Stonemason Kip wasn't even the plan, because he was such a cutie patootie last time. But not anymore. After clearing up these 3, we take the top route back to the main area, fully prepared for the battle ahead, only to realize the gnomes have returned to the dig site, Lae'zel is still sleeping soundly, and there are no Dwagar anymore. Well, there was one. Green. Now red. But before we take on Nier, it was time to gather our strength and rest. Instead, we got this.
You carry a Githyanki relic. I will have an explanation, or your head.
And it's right on theme. Exactly the bedtime story one longs for before the events of tomorrow. Though Shadowheart decides to reminisce on today's events.
Get some rest, Lae'zel. You'll need it.
Nonky looks at them, shrugs, and closes her eyes. Peace. But the girls are not done.
Don't expect to be mourned.
Ladies, please, stop it. Get some help. But not from me, okay?
It's already done.
I get a second chance, right?
Not yet, Kenyank.
There is no way to prevent bloodshed. You have to choose.
What do you mean there's no way to prevent bloodshed? We could just put them in time out, you know? We can just knock them out. There's so many options. I hate when we have to rule them all. And what is this? Is this like some divine punishment for all of Nonky's wrongdoings? Like, I thought she offed herself more than enough times to compensate, but no. It's just Shadowheart and Lae'zel, and they just hate each other. Well, I fucking hate them too, okay? I hate them too. Now, Nonky cannot choose between these two, so like any responsible leader, she spins a wheel. Shadowheart lives. Okay, well, the wheel has spoken. R.I.P. Lae'zel.
May your death be slow and your agony great.
Not only does Nonki make the call, she then becomes an accomplice to the murder. Lae'zel now finding a similar ending as my old laptop and joining our growing list of dead friends. Though this one hurt like a butt cheek on a stick. And it's not like it matters, because, you know, I'm like... We've already killed Gale, we've already killed Karlach, we already killed Scratch with the Owlbear Cub, and... It doesn't matter, right? Like, it's not like I'm emotionally invested in these characters. It's not like I care. Everyone fucking dies. Morale plummets so hard, I briefly considered throwing Nonki straight into the Trial of Shar and calling it a day. But hey, the universe is just forcing us to gather a new crew, and you know options are limited when we give that guy a chance.
That's the spirit.
Behold our brand new shiny Battle Master fighter, who is finally allowed to wear his own clothes again. How generous. SpongeBob laugh. Nonki feels far less generous and starts the day with a warm-up, demonstrating what she would like to do to a very specific member of her party. Until she's so exhausted, she stops feeling emotions altogether, which... honestly, is the healthiest coping mechanism we've seen so far. Will doesn't really know how things work yet, so he decides that the best thing to do is to just follow her lead.
Will, no question. He's strong, fast, and righteous.
Okay. Well, maybe this new quartet will get along well enough to get us through our first battle. We light the wall on fire, WSP doing the heavy lifting, and out tumble Baldur and Nier. No dramatic dialogue this time, no moral debate, straight to violence. Perfectly right for a morning like this. Nier's legendary is to cast Psionic Visage. What does that do? Oh, nothing major, just summons 3 copies of himself and makes him immune to bludgeoning, piercing and slashing damage. Highly inconvenient when that's literally all we do. We can hit them. It just costs us a bit of our sanity and a lot of our hit points. And just when you think your new team had its bonding moment and they are finding their rhythm, Will gets coerced against us by that twat Sol. But at least he's consistent in him needing someone to whisper commands in his ear. Makes sense, makes sense. Nier himself barely lifts a finger. Doesn't need to. Friendly fire is one of the deadliest mechanics in this game, because they truly never miss less and hit harder than when they can hit their allies. Even after Astarion finally takes Nier down, combat doesn't end, because Will is still angry. Don't worry though, Nonki being the graceful leader she is, definitely does not mirror his behavior. And just to make sure the lesson sticks, she finishes this lovely morning by demonstrating what happens if he does it again.
The head breaks off cleanly from the drow's body.
Alas, that's all we get, because his inventory opens and closes instantly. Nonki can't loot Nier, the others can't loot Nier, and strange things are happening. We turn around to watch Welso cry about Myrna, even though there was no Myrna, and there is no Myrna, and there'll never be a Myrna. The gnomes seem confused.
We'll all be free yet.
Very confused. Some thank us for killing their oppressors, some believe that they are still alive, and some have entered full NPC psychosis.
Much as I'd love to chat, I'm not allowed social breaks.
But you are not working. What is going on? Are they bugged? I then assume it's because the only Dwagar we hadn't dealt with yet were the ones with the Rothe. Huh? Nah. It's getting stranger by the minute.
Seems like a good moment to talk.
Luckily, the Rothe is immediately willing to help us clear the rubble, and we move on. Because what else can you do? Straight into the delightful hallway of traps. Astarion pulls out his best moves, jumping, sliding, looting, and reaches the end with the key in hand. The wrong key. Bring in the Nonki, because when a gate won't open and you can't lockpick it, she can hit it. 27 times. 27. I swear, I could release a 3-hour compilation of Nonky whacking doors and gates and chests alike and it would still be missing content. And of course, the one time you expect to need a good old-fashioned knock, the door simply opens. No warning, no resistance, and Nonky gets knocked into herself. Thereafter, we also discover there is, in fact, no key for these massive doors. Anywhere, not even after doing the entire mimic fight. Meaning, yes, everyone got licked by a chest for absolutely no good reason. Except they liked it. So, the final option? Not whacking, not running, but jumping. Just a small amount of damage from the drop, followed immediately by an enormous amount of damage from...
Keep your distance.
Wait, whoa, wait! Okay, that, Since the remainder of the fight is not too difficult, can we just take a moment to talk about this? You send people down during the fight, they take full damage, and then you switch to the one character still up top after the fight ends, and they immediately jump back up, meaning that you have to do that again. And they have the audacity to ask...
Where am I needed?
Well, you know damn well where you need it, you incompetent little shit. You don't say. But we finally get to Philomene's hiding spot to restock our smoke powder supply. She's not here. You're telling me that all of that was for nothing? Oh man. Philomene's gone, the Toeviatar are gone, the Starian's reflection has been long gone, and a long rest doesn't even fix our problems. No souls return, and the living ones still don't get the memo. We do end up trying to shove Nier out of the rubble, which then makes it possible for us to loot him. Yay! And then it's off to my favorite part of the forge, leave her now and never come back, which apparently everyone has been playing with terrible win margins. Though, at this point, I am a professional player. Our new party is running like a well-oiled fighting machine, and thus ready to take on the other well-oiled fighting machine. We've got the molds, we've got the mithril, and we've sacrificed will to the lava and in the lava elemental as tradition demands. Astarion takes the high ground, while the rest of us ride the platform down. Nonky opens the valve, and there he is, Grimbo. Will was really excited to see him. That or he enjoyed his earlier escapade into the lava a bit too much. Will, do you have issues? I mean, the answer is yes, but why so many? Oh, I miss Lizelle. The one thing I don't miss is our achievement hunt, because last time we couldn't use the hammer, and I never would have thought to try it, but here we are, armed with foreknowledge. Faux knowledge. Foehammer. I don't know where this is going. Oh, right, blang. Huge damage, very satisfying, and we can do it again. Nighty. Boom. Oh, this is so much easier than last time. Why do I say that? We all know what happens when you say that. And so, Shadowheart experiences the first-person POV of a WWE finisher. Will must have shouted something doubly offensive because the wrestler decides that he can use a similar treatment twice. And thanks to Grimm's legendary action gaining him extra movement speed, he just keeps walking past the hammer. Just as hope begins to fade, clingety-clangety-clue, turn that bitch into goo! Except he's not superheated, so he's immune. Could have known that. I could have known that. Things briefly stabilize when Shadowheart gets revived. And I mean briefly.
Death won't take me.
Right on cue. And she's not alone. With the platform squad gone, it's only Team Rogue up top, and that's when we realize something wonderful. Grimm can't reach us, He paces around and keeps himself superheated, and when he finally falls over, shooting the platform control politely sends his body back up to us like a dumbwaiter. Perfection. With Grim disabled and the gnome still confused, we return Nier's head to the fun guys. But they become not so fun guys when we decide that nicking a few bits and bobs from the widow is a good idea. Turns out Shroom Village is very touchy about unauthorized sharing of goods, and since we're absolutely not up for a fungal war, this becomes a quick 1, 2, 3 will please flee WPP sort of situation. So we set our sights on the gnomes once more. Tulla still insists that her kin aren't saved. Her kin agree. We even physically pick up Barkus and move him over to her like, look, mate, reunion? But he's still stuck on his one-liner.
Much as I'd love to chat, I'm not allowed social breaks.
The background of the dialogue makes it very clear that he genuinely does not know he's in a different location. But the Myconids, they do see him. Once we start shoving him around. No, I'm sorry, don't do that again, not again, please. Je suis désolé, miane, mi scusi, it's fine, es tut mir leid, forloa. I don't know any more ways to say I'm sorry, but I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Okay, thank you. That was close. We talk our way out of that mishap and we eat some more chests. Well, that sounds like a good idea. And it is a good idea, if you can aim. One melts into the lava, never to be retrieved again. Another nearly kills Loretta. Twice. And that's when one can only wonder, what if we knock some sense into them? Like, it worked on Will. Why would it not work on them? And so we begin our attempted not murder. And even Barkus is returned to the badge to receive his share of the blunt force therapy. We long rest and go back to see if the gnomes are awake again. And they are. Slightly annoyed. And still useless. Right, new plan. What if we... No, please, no more what ifs. What if Nonky pulls out the Necromancy of Day, grabs a radiant weapon and reverts to his strategy from many runs ago, hitting books? Well, the book disintegrates and surprise, surprise, grim grinning ghosts come out to socialize. I was hoping for such an event, because perhaps if the gnomes had to fight for their lives, it would bring back the memories and return them to the right future. Instead, we almost sent them to their graves. But does that finally fix them? Of course not.
Much as I'd love to chat, I'm not allowed social breaks.
He's not allowed any social breaks, but there's no way good and I'm done for today, so I'm going to leave, cause what's going on? And I say, yeah. We destroyed the dome. And now I wanna go home. To Baldur's Gate. Let's go. So, there's really only one thing left to do. Ride the elevator, walk through the dark halls into Act 2. And that, my friends, is where we immediately turn around. They're back. Wait, but so where did they go? Where did they come from? Where did they come from, Ganaju? The lost Duergar finally resurfaced. Well, not really, it's the Underdark, but summoned to be slaughtered. And that we do. At long last, the gnomes are free. Not that they are very grateful. Not to Nonky. Anyway.
You came.
Except for our bestie Barkus, who joins our camp, meaning that whether he knows it or not, he's following us into something much darker. But he must know. We literally beat him more than any of the other gnomes, and he's still friendly. Coincidence?
My friend Wulbrin.
I think not.
Thank you.
Can we survive the shadow-cursed lands? Can we finally stop treating withers like an all-you-can-revive buffet? Or has this entire agonizing run just been the world's most elaborate form of self-flagellation? The only thing we know is that the shadows are hungry. Good. So are we.